All right. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Oot Cast. This is for chapter 51. I do not know if we're going to get through all of it in one episode because there is a lot. Oh boy, is there a lot. We will assuredly miss things. I'm sure some of you will have a great time pointing out the things that we missed or that you feel that we got wrong or that we did get wrong. And I hope you have a lot of fun doing that. And we'll, throw it at us in the
So
comments
we're
or in
coming out
the
swinging this episode.
yes. Well,
Okay.
no, this is my usual spiel.
Oh,
Basically,
okay.
I'm just laying it out there
I
because
thought we
I'm
were
just
just being
making it.
legit for a moment. I was like, oh,
No,
okay, so we're just gonna talk about
I'm
it.
just being clear. I'm just being clear here that this is 51. There is so much that happens in this chapter. There are so many things that connect to stuff that goes all the way back to the prologue. And like I recently did a fair chunk of a replay just to put some of these together. I got some notes here. There are so many callbacks and connections, and it's just ridiculous.
Yep. Don't
So, like I
worry.
said, I am sure you will point out things we miss or connections that we miss. So feel free to throw those into Dobsingtons, into the comments here. It's all good. Right, let's crack on.
It was always Crow's Arc.
It was like legitimately. He was always Krozak. Okay, looking all introspective. And grandfather coming out strong.
Right?
You're nothing. You never were.
I can't do this anymore.
And here we start the start of the copious amounts of voice acting in this
I
chapter.
wanted to do things right.
Mm-hmm. Such great voice acting too.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of it, but Alicosa really nailed it.
I wanted to let your beautiful, trusting heart guide you. And I won't let them take you again.
The
This
Crow
world
just...
will be yours.
Crow's showing her single-mindedness here, but though with a tone that we don't normally get from her, it's almost regretful, you know? She's almost like, this world will be yours. I'm going to give it to you. But she didn't want it to get this far.
And regret.
Yep. But yeah, CJ is now in full-blown...
Enter me, darling.
And this is him being drawn into Crow's
Fill your
innermost
chalice
core.
of desires. One last time.
Yes, the Chalice of Desires. And he's like, oh, in previous chapters he was, oh, but Crow said that to me, but when I think of Chalice of Desires, I think of you, Sarah. Same person!
But it was always Crow.
It was always Crow.
And Grandpa.
And grandfather now is going to start doing something he does consistently. I mean, he did it before, but now he's really going to do it almost every time he sees CJ in this chapter. He is undermining CJ's mindset even further every time, and all while offering him a seeming alternative. It's very manipulative, and whether it's a conscious manipulation or whether it's a product of Grandpa's belief that he is absolutely right, or it's kind of both, is really, up for debate. But it doesn't really matter because he is just mind torturing and already mind fucked CJ.
And then, of course, Grandpa just stating the obvious here. That's like,
and this whole sequence is a meta commentary. You just happen to be the perfect match for that many. Like, this is on a meta level. This is like, pointing out how hilarious it is in many of the adult novels or harem show, TV animes and stuff. Why would so many people, be interested in one person? And
right. Were you just lucky? Right. Did you just possess?
Are you
all
just
the
that
qualities?
Are you just that charismatic and attractive? And Grandpa's like, no, you were made to be what you are. You are a crafted solution to that problem. But yes, here he talks about how the goddesses have no direct. have. It's interesting that he basically contradicts himself here with a lot of the other what he says. He says they pull you in each direction, and in that struggle, none has perfect control, which by default means CJ has at least some freedom, even if it's not like total freedom. He does.
Yeah, I do wonder because
some
like,
independence.
after this chapter, we get told in this chapter that like Graham was like, none of it's real. It doesn't matter because you were forced to, be their perfect husbands with that. And like, I don't think he's wrong, but like, Jamie exists, right? And it's like, it's, very clear that like, it can't all be fake. There's no way.
No. I mean, I feel like Grandpa is painting this picture in a very similar way to the way the Mara did.
It's the opposite thing that we thought, which was we thought CJ was going to have a breakdown because he thought he was manipulating all the girls into loving him, and he didn't know if they truly did or not. It's the opposite, right? But I feel like that's the, I don't know, better
But it's the tip of that iceberg.
Because
our
shards know that they do. Right? I mean, it's, I feel like it's a bit better.
I mean, there are some profound questions at stake, locked away in this mystery as it's presented to us, or not mystery, but this situation. There is a school of thought that every act is, when you are like with another person, is some flavor of manipulation. Like everything you do to get a reaction from someone is some form of manipulation. Passive, aggressive, intentional, unintentional. It's always going to affect you. If we take the assumption that the goddesses made CJ to be their ideal, perfect husband, does this in turn mean that they made him to be controlled, or did they make him according to a set of ideals that they can't actually control? Like, the things that you most admire in a partner are not the things that you, generally speaking, can make them do or be in any given time. It's for them to be themselves, right? Like, you want the best parts of them to be at the forefront of who they are. So, even if they did make him, there's room to discuss whether or not that actually means that they always had this kind of, like, puppet master thing going on. Grandpa makes a lot of assumptions about the mechanics of what happens, the intention behind it, all to fit a narrative that he's had from the start. The one where the goddesses are consciously adversarial to him and to humanity and to everything else. I think that's his ego speaking a lot there. Like he on some level, he genuinely puts himself as on the same level as the goddesses, and I think that influences a huge amount of his worldview.
Quick reminder, because it has, I don't remember if it gets addressed, because in the earlier chapters, or like last chapter, or 49, Grandpa's like, you're gonna die, right?
Yeah, we're not clear on why.
Well, I was gonna say, we don't get a clarification as to why. And it's really weird, because I feel like this would be the time to be like, yeah, you're gonna die anyway. All he says is that there's a possibility that if either one of the goddesses stops wanting to manifest this perfect version of their, husband or whatever, that he's going to stop existing because he needs the power of all four, right?
Yeah, but there's a huge gap in this.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense because we know that his body is real. Like, it's actually there. And all he does is regulate...
What he's talking about there mechanically is the causality factor. Remember that CJ is, in a sense, the reverse of what happened with Mizzy, right? In order to remove Mizzy from the timeline so that he could fill the spot, essentially speaking,
right? And
Grandpa had to expend a huge amount of power to do that.
But then they had to reverse that on purpose. Like, they had to.
I mean, well, we don't know for sure if that's the case. Tsukiko may well have been responsible for reversing that, even unconsciously, because she is an entity that, like, sets boundaries and brings stability. She is stability, right?
Yeah, so I just don't see what evidence Grandpa has that. Like...
I mean, I think his logic is that he's assuming that they've done something like because he tried to he copied CJ to create Tsukiko. That's something he talks about a couple of times. Like, CJ was the basis for his experiments that led to the creation of Tsukiko. But I think he's assuming a lot about how they did it in order to, like, fit the fact that he copied them to make Tsukiko. Like, again, his ego, I think, is getting in the way of a full appreciation. I feel like he probably has part of, but not all of the picture, which is classic Hayato.
Classic Hayato. True. Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah,
I felt like we got led up to this point, and he's like, "So you might die."
But that's the thing. He himself admits in 49 that he doesn't know how.
Yeah, I know, which
CJ's
is super.
die.
Which is,
he's just like, oh, it might be a car accident. It might be this. It might be that.
Yes,
it might be
but
something. But he's saying that he doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm saying is he doesn't understand that mechanism, and so what does he do? He doesn't understand it, so he dismisses it. Instead of if he runs into something that he cannot understand, his first instinct is to dismiss it, to minimize it.
And of course, it's Hayato here being like, the only other option is for you to kill yourself, like straight up.
Yes, you can make the choice. You show them you are your own person. Like, but CJ's already shown that. He's pushed back against the goddesses multiple times. Did he do that at least in part because of the ideals that they have instilled into him? Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, if he really was their perfect husband, he would just go along with everything. I mean, he would have, he would have been like, okay, Hyun, kill me, because that's clearly what you want. It's like, no, bitch. It's not, that's not the point.
It connects to what I'm saying,
yes,
right?
Of course, Carpo, let's jump off the building together.
Yeah, but this fits into what I'm saying. Like, he's not just a blind puppet that Grandpa says he is, or even others. That's all them painting it with their own opinions and feelings and views of things. And it's. I'm not saying the CJ isn't obviously influenced by them. Like the sequence with Lindsay in that sphere she sets up is obviously influenced there. But how much is that of that influence is a conscious thing that they're doing, or an unconscious thing, or is it like a pressure on his mind?
I mean,
is it a result of a set of commands almost that he was locked into? We don't know. Like, there's so much we don't know about how the mechanics of how CJ functions here.
I definitely don't want to discount it because, I mean, I don't think it's nearly as bad as it was made out to be, because even in the bubble of Lindsay's little fucking cleansing domain, whatever the fuck it was, he still acted like himself, even if he was like, okay, I feel like I'm way less foggy right now, but like, okay, fuck off, Hayato, first of all, right? I mean, he was...
Yeah, I mean, he was in shock.
He acted the same.
He was in shock, don't get me wrong, because he was like, what the hell is this feeling? Why is it different? Why am I feeling so different? But yeah, he was still... His core personality is still his.
Mm-hmm.
And his choices are still his. Like, they don't control his choices in the way that Hayato implies. Yeah, he's talking now about stuff that is very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
About how he saw Jacob's mother and realized that she looked like Sarah and she was Crow, so like, she was Sarah. And like, there's a lot to be said for the pieces of this puzzle. And then Grandpa puts it together and says, oh yeah, it all makes sense, doesn't it? But then, like, does it, Grandpa? Or do you just think it does? Because there are so many ways these pieces can fit together. But his rings flash in and out here. Except for Sakiko's ring. Which stays.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because she's not part of this.
This man murdered tens of thousands merely to inconvenience you. He would
Glass
do
houses,
or
Crow.
say anything to get his way.
Crow, glass houses, please.
I was well, glass houses, yeah, fair enough. Anytime any of the guys, this guy's bad, I'm like, okay, he's definitely bad, but you're also bad.
Like, yes. And Crow, you're literally willing to destroy an entire planet.
Who knows?
Right now.
We have no idea what Crow is up to before. Like, that's the thing.
No.
I mean, it's not relevant to the story right now, but...
Well, I mean, I'll say this right. I'll say it right here, right now. Crow didn't want to do this plan. This whole plan.
Oh, no, I mean, no, she didn't.
It's a
this was
last resort.
She says it.
Last-ditch desperation act. I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm just saying that it does provide context to her actions.
No, but, I mean... I don't even think it's like the craziest thing that could have been. Like, if this is it, like, the other solution right now is that CJ dies, like, and she's like, okay, I'd rather do this than let you die. And I'm like, okay, that's totally within. I mean, that's totally normal Crow behavior.
I mean, let's be fair here. If it's literally Leia's stance, it has been from 37. Leia's stance is, I don't give a shit if everyone else in the world is dead, as long as I have you guys, and
yeah.
that's it. That's literally what Crow is doing right now. She's just following through on what Leia's always said she would do, and be perfectly willing to do.
There's no
Hell,
less
I think Vic would do it
trustworthy
too, for that
than all of
matter.
existence.
No, yeah.
My only mistake was not purifying your state.
But
from the
seeing
sea
Crow here in
sewer.
her original, apparently, form is something and a half. Like, talk about a mindfuck.
Funny how you're the only one with the voice this chapter.
There are so many layers to that fucking statement.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, I mean, you've got like, yes, you've got it in like the in-world sense where it's like, you're the only one who's
I
like,
do
speaking.
wonder if I know that we know what that means, but like I do wonder if all this time Grandpa hasn't been like talking with his mouth every single time he's shown up in this form, and because CJ can't talk right now, Crow's really the only one fucking talking. Like I just wonder if maybe
I mean, I can't rule it out.
Maybe
You may
that's...
just be talking like, I mean, they're talking spirit to spirit right now. They're on the other side, talking spirit to spirit. Is that? Does it have? Are you breathing air right now? Matrix question moment.
Right.
Like, you really think that's
Is that
air you're breathing right now?
Did you really think those were stars?
Did you really? Right. It's the same kind of vibe.
Oh my god.
But yes, he's very. Grandpa absolutely calls him Jacob now all the time.
Which I
nail home.
find super fucking, I don't know. I think
It's
super
very manipulative because it's nailing
There's-
home.
because
Like,
even
you're
if-
not CJ. You're someone else. You don't even know who you are, do you?
But it's so fucking. I mean, that's typical Haito right there.
And he sounds so reasonable at the same time. Like, this is how
Because he's
people
so
like that.
right all the time.
Yeah. Hayato did nothing wrong.
No. I don't think that was ever said that he did anything wrong. I think he just was always right.
Okay. Oh, totally different thing. My bad.
You can do things that are wrong and still be right. I don't think anything that Hayato's done has been great at all. But I mean, saying he's been not right about most of the things.
He created Tsukiko, who is like intrinsic to everything working out.
Yeah.
Like it's ironic. Like, for all of his
Does Uxo ever
mistakes
comment on
and
that?
failing.
I wonder if Uxo ever comment. I don't know. I feel like that was like the main thing that he contributed, and Uxo was like, "Yeah, I fucking saw this guy."
No, she didn't have anything to do with that. That was him, all him.
Well, but I mean, it wouldn't have been possible. That was my point in bringing that up. If Uxo didn't do
No.
the thing.
I mean, Oxo says openly at one point that the only thing she did to Hayato was change his nature, to make him physically immortal,
Right.
so that he would propagate that methodology throughout the world, and therefore keep CJ's loved ones alive until he himself could make them immortal. Which, by the way, tacitly shows that CJ will reach a level at some point where he can just make everyone around him functionally immortal, because he wants them to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, see, I mean, this is his grandpa. You have to do everything I say to save the world. He crushes CJ's self-worth and sense of self,
Like,
and then says, "You want to have some value? Save the world. Do what I tell you."
Right, and even here, he's like, "They'll be coming for you. They'll tear this world apart unless you do exactly what I like." I mean, yes, technically they are, but like only because Crow's about to do what she's gonna do, not because of anything that's happened yet. Nothing has happened yet, other than the
he wants
the
to try and
revelation.
preempt. This whole thing is an attempt to preempt what he believes is the end of the world coming when CJ dies, and then the girls go mad and destroy it all. That's his.
Which is hilarious
he-
because, I mean, obviously that's not like a crazy thing to think about, like because he's seen that happen before, but this time it didn't happen, and they just created another CJ. So it's really fucking hilarious how we're like I guess it was a individual circumstance. It's not going to happen again, but like again, Hayato, you just saw that that's not what always happens, right? I mean.
Well, I mean, and there's another part there. There are multiple components to how he's making assumptions. So, like, this is the only world, apparently, as far as we know, that Hebe
That had the 4.
that has the 4, and most of all, and from what we can tell, that means Hebe's not been active on any of these worlds for an unfathomably long time. her shards being present is almost a first. Not probably completely, but for a really long time. Probably since she's been sealed away.
He will change this world. I'll make sure of it.
But yes, Crow really, I think, as awful as what she's doing is on some levels, really this whole chapter nails that she is ultimately a tragic figure rather than
None
malicious.
of you will hurt him again.
Yeah, see, again, that's the key thing. None of them will hurt him again.
And then,
Jamie
of
is
course,
trying to
yeah.
reach out to her son, but she's under massive strain now as CJ is losing control of himself, and therefore his part of the balance that keeps the goddesses that are on Earth, like the parts of them that are on Earth, locked up and chained up.
Mhm.
And this is
It's
CJ now on
okay.
the train again, and Sarah speaking to him.
Please.
Notes that she has exactly the same physical
worry.
pose. This is one of my notes. This is exactly the same physical posing and positioning as his mom did in the chapter 44 Illusion.
Right.
It'll all be over soon.
Further nailing home that Sarah, at some point in some way, was his mother, Rebecca.
These are the words that everybody hears when they die.
Please. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, this is Sarah, who obviously she's feeling very conflicted and guilty over this, but she's going through that because she doesn't see an alternative. And CJ's mind is just a little flash of Cameron here. I'm sorry. And yeah, this is Victoria. Oh God, Victoria. Reflecting on one of the opening traumas with the incident where it is implied that she assaults CJ, and she did. Like, that's actually what happened. Like, but her guilt now has been cracked wide open again, because did he forgive her because he wanted to, or did she actually not do anything wrong, or was it because
Right.
she wanted him to forgive her?
I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, the
thing is, again, I think Grandpa's not entirely wrong. Yes, of course, she wanted him to enable her.
I'm not trying to make fun of him. That is in Grandpa's entire personality is, I don't think he's entirely wrong. It's just
that's what the great manipulators do. They take parts of the truth to bolster their lies. That's how you really convince someone of an untruth and manipulate them, is by presenting the sides of the truth that you want them to see. See, that's it. Like, she wanted it to be real, but her own doubt undermined it. And now that's been cracked wide open. Like, I have no idea what Victoria's mental state is going to be.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, I think, last chapter, but I mean, she's going to experience everything that CJ does whenever he fucking comes back. So it's over.
Even if she herself doesn't remember this, which I'm pretty sure she will. I'm pretty sure that she will remember the sequence.
Right? Because I mean, this is happening to CJ, and that was the only condition, right? Even if CJ wasn't like at his beach house or whatever, right?
No,
indeed. It was just anytime he's on the other side, she's gonna remember. She's gonna see everything.
Well, not only that, I think she may be remembering it in her role as the shard of the goddess connected to him. It's not just that he uses her as an anchor to return back to from the other side. I mean, I think all the girls will remember themselves in the roles they play in this chapter as their goddesses / themselves.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that
possible.
because this is don't forget, they are their shards. Their shards, the power of the goddesses on the world that Tsukiko is locking down is them.
Yeah,
that's why Jamie is able to swap in
with how
and
Leah
out of them.
and Carpo act later. Like,
exactly, yes, yeah.
Definitely.
But this really shows that Vic is just seriously messed up by this. Why do you want me to be like this? Yeah,
and then we see a flash of another CJ.
Well, this is what it is. He's their dream, and every side of him, every type of him is that it's how people see different things when they look at their loved ones, right? Like, you see, if someone's in love with someone, the person who's in love sees them differently. And this is really important.
I know this is really important.
It's all really important. But
all
yes,
really important.
Leia is right. She said it. She said it straight to his face right from the start of 37. Was like, in 37 was like, you know, I told you, this is what I would be willing to go this far. Why are you surprised?
Right. And I mean, Grandpa again is right here. It wasn't like she didn't change at all. You just needed to convince her that she was right.
Yeah, she just revealed who she was underneath the facade. And that it was okay for her to go as far as she did.
Right. It's okay for it's okay that you want to kill everybody as long as you don't.
I mean, I think. So why are you afraid? That's the key thing. It's not that like he's like feels he shouldn't have done it. Is that he's afraid of her on some level of what she could do.
Yeah.
And like,
which
I don't think that that's wrong. Like,
I was about
feeling
to say
afraid
that.
of
I
something.
don't feel like that's that.
But
Yeah.
being afraid of something doesn't mean that you're going to act on that fear. And it's not like you can control that fear directly, right? I mean, like, it's the whole, like, the fear is the mind killer, as the catechism goes, right? But
Right.
you don't overcome fear by not feeling it.
And
you overcome fear by just letting it pass.
here's another really good point: is that like through this entire sequence here, if CJ really is supposed to be the fucking perfect husband for all of them, he shouldn't be afraid. He shouldn't have, like, I mean, Vic literally says in the last one, "I don't want to be a bad person. Why do you want me to be like this?" Like, if he really is the perfect husband, that wouldn't be the case. I feel like
I think the thing is that people are making the assumption that to be in the context of him being a delusion of the Four, and they created him, that this would somehow mean that he would always acquiesce to everything and would dance on their strings completely. And it's like, that's not what's happened. He may have been created by them, but like I'm starting to think that there's a strong possibility that just like he may have been created as a delusion. And think of it this way: the goddesses may have created him with a set of parameters that matched their tastes, right? Like, it's like taking a snapshot of something and then making a construct from that snapshot, and it's all of their ideals of him: his courage, compassion, his
I mean, that's literally what happened too.
Right.
Yeah.
But they took that snapshot, they created it, it coalesced, and then because he was born and he was created, mind. He was engineered to be this way, physically as well. And like, yes, all of those parameters were put into him, but that doesn't mean that those parameters stayed static. Like, he has relationships with people outside of the Four. Jamie, most obviously, like his bond with Jamie, as is shown in this chapter, is just as strong as he has with any of the goddess shards. He can't let her go. He says it outright: "I can't let you go." So he has the capacity to love outside of the parameters that they would likely have set for him, which proves he is his own person. Obviously, he's not in a mental state to understand that logically. We're able to sit out here and look in and see that, but he's on the inside, and he's just now undergoing mental gut punch after mental gut punch.
I didn't even realize in this scene that Leah got upset. I thought she was just mad and indifferent the whole time.
No, she's just like, I think it's puzzlement. I think she's genuinely like, why are you afraid? Like, she's not even angry per se. She's just confused. Like, you made me this way. Like, you accepted me as this. Why are you surprised?
Fucking Teresa, creepy.
Honestly,
ass.
Teresa is the most disturbing of them all, in my opinion, in this. Like,
I know exactly what you feel. Okay,
she's
Christ,
so
calm down.
She's so dissonantly, like, it's so dissonant how she is compared to her normal self, I think, which is what it is. Like, Vic is very emotional by nature, so seeing her the way she was, as traumatic as it is like, but Teresa like this is just, wow.
I honestly, I swear to God, Anon heard all of our comments about Uxo being like not as crazy and was like, okay, but you want to see crazy for real next chapter?
oh, you sweet someone. And I still stand by that. Like, her actions are maybe less insane, but I think this is a question of her motivation.
Well, her actions may be less insane, but they were holy shit, they're way more impactful. Like, how many like the wider
how many entire
reach,
worlds that she ended up like be destroying in the pursuit of her goals?
Yeah, it's always.
I mean, It's always the quiet ones. Dude. It's always the quiet ones, my guy.
It's always the quiet ones.
But no, Teresa here showing definitely the insanity of Orkzo in a way that we haven't quite seen before. Just the depths of her obsession and how it has twisted even her, who has been perceived until now as the more, well, not benevolent, but less malevolent goddess.
Oh man, I'm so glad Kaz isn't here because I'd make a joke right now.
Oh boy.
No, it's fine. I'll tell you later.
Oh, it's fine.
I don't want anyone to get mad at me.
But yeah, so Teresa's now just displaying, like, you know, why? What do you? I see what you are. Like she does indeed understand and know him.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's not a super unhealthy codependent issue type thing going on right there or anything.
Oh my goodness, it's over.
And those two lines here: these worlds lack the beauty of your souls that burn as brightly as yours. Which just shows that, yeah, at the end of the day, as nice as she may be, also thinks that he's, you know, giving you that happiness is a fundamental good worth any cost.
The wheel turns as it should.
I mean, this is the, yeah.
Again,
yeah.
I don't think you're wrong.
Not wrong,
but I don't think you're all right.
But that's not the whole picture.
100% not right.
It's just not the whole picture in this case. Like, she gave him desires which she then fulfilled, but like, I mean,
but there's other things that exist.
Like, she didn't intend how Stacy ended up being. She didn't intend a lot of other stuff.
Man, for gods, they really don't intend a lot of shit to happen.
Well, there's a lot to be discussed here in terms of the four goddesses as to how much are they consciously controlling things and putting plans in motion, and how much of it is simply the sheer weight of their power and their unconscious desires and their feelings pressing down on reality and making stuff happen. Like, it's hard to draw distinctions there because that's the level of power these goddesses exist at. Between the four of them and Oh Glory, they encapsulate everything about existence. Every concept, feeling, idea, ideal. Like, there are so many layers to it. Yes, again, Grandfather not completely wrong. And Teresa really, really scaring the shit out of us. It's just like, stop this childish panic. Mommy knows best. Mommy knows best. Mommy knows best. I forgot
about that line.
Yeah. But CJ's just you know, reeling now from
they see
the
you
impact
as a shard of your former glory. Another bauble on the road to greatness. A special one. But just that.
And Crow's right here.
A piece.
Yeah, that's what they've always seen him as.
I don't think Crow's been wrong at all. I don't think Crow's been wrong
which is what's really alarming.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I don't think. Yeah, I never thought Crow. I never thought Crow ever lied. I always thought she just wasn't telling everything, which she wasn't, of course.
No, indeed, especially since 29.
Right.
You're you.
And Crow actually it's not just a heartfelt plea with what she's about to say.
You have to.
There's actually a strong logic that yes, CJ has to be her love. Especially if we consider that CJ and Jacob may actually have the same soul. But we'll get into that in a bit.
She's the proof.
She's the proof. Okay, that's so important here.
And took that piece with you. There's no other
I
way.
believe that this is true. I believe this is true. Like, I know there's room for interpretation here as Grandpa questions it. But Grandpa sounds to me like, because he lists things that it could be. Or she was torn apart by the same calamity of karma that made you. All this, like, he doesn't actually have an answer. He's just throwing out doubts.
Right? I mean, yeah. Again, it's the entire thing we've just been saying. It's like, Hytha's probably, I mean, he doesn't know. But, I mean, it doesn't sound like what he's saying is the craziest thing in the world.
He sounds reasonable, but he is just throwing out, like, oh, but it could be this. It's like, yes, it could be that, but we don't have any evidence that it's that. We have some circumstantial evidence it could be this thing that we are suggesting, Whereas you're suggesting something there is no evidence for.
Which is super funny because he
There's
says,
no
he was
other
like,
way.
he's like, time has no direction outside mortal boundaries. The cause of her split could still lie in the future, which I think
Enough.
is such a BS. I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I don't think that's the case.
I mean, I don't deny the possibility, but the thing with, okay, one of the cornerstones, if you want to theory craft about stuff, if you want to actually make theories, is that you have to work with the information you have at hand and make a best fit
Which is
theory.
Which is
from
why whenever characters get fed false information or don't give all the information, or like, it's so fucking fun because it's like, well, no, that's not relevant because that's not how it actually is. You're like, oh, damn, really? Because that was preventing me from thinking of like 10 other ideas about what was going on.
Exactly. But yeah, but I think this is a great example of what I just said, is that, you know, you have to make some theory. And I think Crow is right. I think Sarah is the other half of Crow from all the way back when the shattering happened. And that when OG shattered, the core of him, the like center of him, broke away and took that chunk of Crow with him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And then that chunk reemerged. That piece reemerged with when Cameron came into existence with the 4 rings. But the question then becomes: was she there for Cameron or was she there for Jacob?
Fair point.
Especially if Jacob is, as I strongly suspect, OG reborn, like that core part of OG brought back. Like, there's a lot of potential there. And here we see Human Crow, aka Sarah, aka Kieran.
All in
Please
one,
don't
baby.
worry.
all into one.
It'll all be over soon.
But Crow is like apologetic here. She's not insane like she has been in the past, where she insists
I won't
that,
let
like,
them
you know,
hurt you, darling.
this isn't just about her wanting to be in control or to have him to herself anymore. Because this plan involves her annihilation. She isn't trying to keep him for herself.
I wanted
This
to make the
is,
world
in a
you
very
want
real
it,
sense,
but
a completely selfless act by her standards.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really. I mean, I just can't really fault Crow at all. Like,
Given the level of trauma
Yeah.
Crow has been through, given all that we know, like, I don't.
Strong enough.
It's not obviously not the right call, but she still. But it's worth noting that a part of Crow knows that and stops her. Technically 2 parts, because it's Sarah who sends Diary to go and find Kieran to bring her to the core, to stop everything from happening.
yep.
I
Be
didn't
nice
wanna
having
have
all
to do
those
this.
different personalities. Nope, you're wrong. Nope, we're not doing this. Nope. Nope.
I gave them their chance. But they've left me no choice.
But yeah, she makes the point again and again. She
I'll
feels
never
she has
be
no
able to
choice,
forgive
and I can't
Well,
fault
I
her
don't-
logic here.
I don't. Help me follow along here, because nothing other than CJ finding out what's been going on, the goddesses haven't done anything different, right? Or are they like?
Well,
I don't know.
with
I feel like this whole
with
situation
CJ, okay,
is like-
so with CJ finding out what's happened, his control over the because he was basically giving the power that Tsukiko needed, or at least helping her regulate the goddesses, right? Without with him mentally and emotionally and spiritually, presumably losing control, she can't do that anymore. The goddesses are tearing her apart, and once she's torn apart, the pieces of the goddesses on the planet that
Right,
she chained
and
up
so
are
that's
torn apart.
and that's
They
what
will
Crow's- and
remerge
that's-
with their goddesses, and then they will almost certainly come into the world to claim CJ for themselves.
Okay. It really just seemed like it was like things were causing something that was also causing the same thing to happen. But yeah, no,
No, that's
that
that's
does
what
make
she's
sense.
trying to.
Again.
No, that makes sense.
You'll see her again before the end. I promise.
Well, no, again, Ali does a great job with getting the right emotion into this. Determination, sadness, sorrow, guilt. And the first line we get from Cameron, like properly, to one of our characters directly: Give me my son
I'm
back.
taking you to the deepest part of me. The very core that you created.
CJ, it's questionable he's even hearing most of this. It's
The
just,
seed you planted.
he's so in shock
Much
and
has
messed up
sprouted.
right now. Like,
I know this is all going super fast, by the way. Like from his perspective, it's like it just keeps flashing back to different.
yeah,
shit
this is
during
just,
everybody talk to him, and then
Yeah.
Hayato's like, okay, but you don't have to do that. Okay, but you don't have to do that. Also, you don't have to do that. Hey, you
it's
could
it's a
just kill yourself
microcosm
now,
almost of how someone having a mental breakdown often describes this.
right?
Just a rush of images and feelings and fragments of information that just overwhelm them. I mean, it's funny that I was having a conversation a couple of months ago with the guys in the
Everything now.
Discord that some people were saying that Oot needs to up the stakes to give it more gravitas. Like, basically, they were saying we need people to actually die. And I was like, I didn't personally agree with that. I think it's much more interesting to have characters stick around so we can actually see them
I don't know. I don't think
deal with
characters
stuff
need
and
to
process.
die.
But at the same time, I can appreciate that it does add stakes. And what I suggested in its place was that what we might see is ego death, which is when somebody's very sense of self is killed and replaced with something else. Like they undergo a transformation, or maybe they get their memories wiped, or things like that. And
right. I always felt like that I always felt something like that was going to happen. I
well,
always have been a subscriber to.
Naomi.
Yeah, I've always been a subscriber to the fact that we're definitely, I think so, that we're going to get like a solo CJ arc or something similar where he's going to need to figure everything out. Especially with, I thought, if Ashley's arc wasn't next arc, I definitely thought it would have been after this chapter. And maybe it will be, because it's got to be during somebody's chapter.
Yeah,
But-
well, I just wanted to add that this chapter has both of those things. Because CJ basically undergoes ego death here. The person he thought he was
I
gets
also don't
completely
think-
thrown out the window.
I don't know. I don't feel like Oot needs. I feel like people that are like Oot needs more death or Oot needs like more stakes. I'm like the whole stake is it's all or nothing. Like
Right.
there is no especially for CJ, there is no compromising here. Either they're all gonna win and live together, or they're all gonna die. Like that's how I always viewed the beginning of the story.
Well,
to
that's
now
the
still.
consequence of the power scaling going on here.
Yeah,
Like the four
like-
goddesses are
I
all
never felt
apocalypse level events.
Yeah.
Like even Crow is an apocalypse level event. If she punches through into reality to possess someone or something without doing it in very particular ways, that's
Yeah.
game over.
Yeah, the goddesses are very limited in what they can do, and that's one of the reasons why, like, whenever they're uber powerful, but they can't to do what they want to do. They can't, that there's a reason why they have to go through so many hoops, because they don't want to, destroy everything, or sometimes they do.
Including that which they're there for. Like they all need to get what they're there for under the specific circumstances they
One
require.
of the downsides of
achieve
being
their
super
aims.
powerful in this universe.
Well, yeah, it's the law. It's a combination. It's the law of convergence and the law of ripples, as they say in some literary circles.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're at a high enough level of power, even the tiniest act sends out massive ripples with layers of consequences. And the law of convergence is that power draws power. So if you act, and you will always draw another power towards you to counter that act, or to at least oppose it.
I'm merely returning your gift.
And that's a key line there.
Past forgiveness.
She says at one point that the spark inside her that he's taking you to, her innermost core, is the product of when he uplifted her in the first place, which is why it probably looks like a sun, right? Her core looks like a sun because it's a seed,
Yep.
because she's made from his flesh.
I was always wondering if we were ever going to address that, especially since the beginning with Kieran, like the very beginning of 45.
Holding it, yeah. It was her dream she had where she's sitting in front of the sun. Yeah, she's sitting in front of her own core, and she doesn't, because she's rejected it. But yes, that's why to
And then
her
the
this
next
power
line.
works, because she's returning the seed of power that he gave her.
I know I'm past forgiveness. I won't ask for it.
Self-awareness from Crow.
I know
Well,
I'm
but
past
we both know
forgiveness.
that's not true.
I won't ask for it.
Well, one of the key
Into
points of this and
eternity.
Oot in general is that no one is beyond redemption. If you have a genuine desire to improve, to strive to be better,
Mm-hmm.
if you have regret. Well, that's one of the other big revelations that is really easy to miss in this. That Crow, the Crow we know, the Crow that we were so convinced, that many people were so convinced, is only cares about CJ, is riddled with guilt and shame over her inability to care about others. Because that's what it amounts to when she says, I'm flawed and I can't be what you want me to be. That's admitting that on some level she knows that she cannot, that her inability to care about others in the way that she, or anywhere near the same way that she does about CJ/OG, is her flaw. And that she has immense guilt and shame over that.
I was
But yes,
so weak.
I was weak. I was so weak.
This is all I can do now. They're coming.
Half soul screams.
All of them. Kione, Karpo, Oxo, Hayato, all of them.
Interesting lack of
Matter.
Hebe mentioned there.
Yeah,
Probably because she
yeah.
can't come.
All four
Yeah.
She can't. She's locked behind the seal.
Yeah, she's definitely locked herself away, or she's.
Or being locked away, or both.
Yeah. Well, I'm more inclined of the theory that, like, because I don't know if Hayato mentioned it, but it was like behind that seal is like, I don't know. He implied it was like a mishmash of a different, like.
It's a corrupted and
bunch of
fallen
different worlds.
universe.
Yeah.
It's a corrupted and fallen universe.
Which-
Although what that actually means in practice is up for debate.
Well, that just that just totally makes sense from what we know about her, because like because I mean, both you and I agree that like she probably tried to take on OG's place, and honestly, maybe she created her own fucking universe just to take the place of OG and lock herself away from all the fucking crazy.
But she couldn't
goddesses.
quite pull it off because despite how close Hebe is to being
But
like
she,
OG,
she
she,
is.
isn't actually OG.
Yep.
I could have done this at any moment since your last ring activated. But it was always my last resort. Darling.
Yeah, she says it out openly here. This was her
Please,
final
darling.
contingency.
Just believe me. I wanted to give you the same world she did.
Throwing to Sarah though. CJ's just
And yeah,
I cannot imagine the anguish and just endless series of body blows to his sense of self and everything. And here we see now cutting to a flashback to Cameron. Who it seems has returned to California.
there they are.
Or goddesses
There
watching.
they are. There they are again.
There they are again. Hold your world. And it's This is Cameron going to visit his father body in the mortuary to confirm the identification.
Oh my god, guys, I don't know if you can see it, but in the window.
In the windows, guys. They're everywhere. Which just shows the goddesses are constantly watching him, right? They're constantly with him. Never would have guessed. His father well known at the police station. What a shocker.
And then
Little
we get a
flash
bit
there
of a
of the
flash.
bodies.
Yeah.
Yep, of the bodies we saw Hector take from, which is connects to the future. Because now we know that Hector took DNA and possibly some other spiritual residue, but at least DNA samples, biological samples from Jacob, maybe even Cameron himself later on. Cameron not sorry that his father is dead, at least outwardly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see much of the apartment that his father lived in, but what we do see, very shortly,
Yeah.
makes it look a lot like Stacy's place from when, after everything what we see in the chapter in Teresa's arc. And notice the music.
Yeah.
I wonder whose music that is. Yes, now he's leaving. Now we run into one of the more mysterious elements, at least directly, as we mentioned her earlier.
This actually, her, I feel like it's, I don't know. I feel like, oh my god, guys, I don't know if you see in those windows panes right there.
Hello, everybody. Meet Rebecca, who is Sarah. Rebecca? And remember, as said earlier, she's the only Crow is the only one to get voice, to have a voice in this chapter. So that confirms this is Sarah.
This is 100%, at least from what I can tell. Like, so, because Grandpa talks about how things don't happen on a linear time. I mean, we know that things don't happen on a linear timeline.
Well, they do. It's okay. Again, the time. What happened has always happened. This is a flashback to the past. This has always happened.
The point at which it happens is not.
Well, from our
it's just
perspective.
Always happened. Yes,
from our perspective. That's the key difference here. Yeah. Just because we don't know when someone went back in time from, or where they went back from, whatever they did in the past always happened. It's a fixed time. The timeline is fixed. It's a closed loop. All time travel in Oot is a closed loop.
Yeah, I know. So my point of bringing that up is later in this chapter, I know I'm going way ahead, we're going to see at the very end, CJ and Hayato and Crow, Kieran, standing right in front of the beach with her being older, right?
That's the day that Cameron and Jacob died, yes.
Right. Yes, that being in the past, and then we see the spirits from Sarah's like sisters and shit like that.
What we assume to be, yeah.
What we assume to be, that has to be the moment that like something fucking happens. Either because it's said that she goes
Crow, I think he was the one who says that this is the day Sarah was born. And if we factor in,
say that, I do
not
this is
remember
the day
them
Sarah was saying that.
Well, not
I thought it was
sort of.
implied.
She says this is where she was made. And I think I am reading perhaps between the lines here, but the timelines do roughly line up because it's 72 now, right?
Oh my god, I never remember the time.
And then it's 72 now. See, Jacob and Cameron die in 68, which is 4 years before 72. How many years was CJ in America? 4 years. So CJ, and then Sarah says she woke up on a rock right by the house, which she did because she says like this is the first place I woke up on the rock. So that moment that we see at the end of 51 is also the moment when Sarah is created, is put into a physical body and wakes up on the rock. She doesn't remember it, like what we see, because she was probably still like not conscious at that point.
I think that the reason, because we come to learn at the beginning of last chapter that Hayato says that that Rebecca's still around, but she's in like a catatonic state.
A catatonic state, yes.
She's no longer alive. I don't know. This is definitely, maybe it's not possible within the rules here, but it would 100% make sense to me is that after that beach scene, Sarah's born, and then Rebecca goes into the catatonic state because now the spirit, the piece of Crow that latched on to OG after they're dead, with CJ being recreated now, gets fairyified. Because we know that the concept of making a fairy is a concrete thing; it's not unique. We know that because the other fairies exist with the other shards, so they have to have a similar process. The process was
he always
same,
has a fairy.
The origin
companion.
was different, right? So with that being said, that's why she has a voice here, because this is still the piece before it
Yes,
becomes
that was
Sarah.
drawn to OG. Like, so again,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned my theory that Rebecca is the piece of crow that broke off, that we know is Sarah.
Yeah,
That
100%.
broke
I
off
100%
and,
agree.
and was born alongside the first four-ring Cameron. Now, whether she was born for Cameron or whether she was born for Jacob, we're not clear on that yet. It may be a moot point, because spiritually they may be basically the same thing. But the point stands nonetheless. And then my guess is, I mean, he's a very angry dude, but my guess is that Rebecca, Crow describes Rebecca's crying out there of her grief and her pain is what drew her to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, she might have arrived in the world earlier, but again, as you said, they can appear along the timeline at any point around it.
She's like, who else
because the
could that have
spiritual
pain
call
been
goes
from?
forwards and backwards in time.
Yeah.
So that's what drew her to the world in the first place. My guess is that there is at least a possibility that Sarah is Rebecca's soul transformed into a Fae, melded with a Fae to become the Sarah we know.
Yes, I definitely
And then
think that's the case.
that's why she's in a catatonic state, because the soul isn't there, or at least a significant portion of the soul isn't there. That's my current standing theory. It's not a solid theory though, but it's
why Grandpa at the end is like, hey, you need to go talk to her now, because you won't be able to do this in your current time, because it's not gonna fucking work, because she's not around anymore for this to happen.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why, like, as he says, you know, it's, you know, history, like, you could undo the thing at the place where it's done. And in this case, if CJ like gives up his soul here, Jacob then will die, go with his mother, and pass into the other side like a normal death. Though I think that he's ignoring his own rules there about time, how time works, to try and believe that that would be the case. Because Jacob, child CJ, whenever call him, has already interfered at multiple points in the timeline by this case. He can't; those actions have happened. They cannot be undone. And if he has to be around as himself to do that, then it's, you know, it throws into question. He can't just pass on at this point. It doesn't make sense.
We are so not getting through this.
Oh god, dude, let's just keep going from now.
We're already an hour in.
Hey! Get back here, potty mouth! Cameron B. Roberts. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here like this. The school year is almost over. I was worried sick. What happened? What about New Orleans?
Here we see that Cameron tried to run away from everything, mostly the reputation he had because of the visions and the trances he was obviously drawn. He says he was drawn into repeatedly.
Do you still think I do?
That made him an outcast, and everyone thought he was crazy. Which, I mean, in a sense he was, just not in the sense they thought. But Rebecca doesn't care. She loves him anyway.
What? Oh. You poor thing.
Even with all the needles, it was a stroke that killed him. So it's saying that his father was a drug addict, apparently. Maybe as a means of his own means of trying to escape what the visions, assuming he was similar to his son in this regard. Maybe not identical, but similar. Like, we honestly don't know what governs the emergence CJ shard, of OG shards. Is it a similar iterative process to the goddesses, or does it just emerge in a particular generation? We do not know.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of info on that. Again, it would have been really nice if we got more details from fucking the other CJ shards, because they seem to be like a really good baseline for anything that's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
yeah, they are. I'm actually. I used to not be super crazy about them, but as the stories progressed, I'm like, I'm so glad they exist because it gives us a baseline, and without it, we would be nowhere in trying to figure out what's going on. Because see, all of CJ's stuff that's happened has been so abnormal and not regular to the way that all this happens. It's been nuts to try to figure everything out, which is why trying to predict this fucking story has been such hell, because it's like you don't know what is normal and supposed to be happening and what's not. And
we fill in more as we go, but yeah, there's a lot. You have to make some degree of suppositions and implications and judgment calls on the available information.
I know he wasn't a great father.
But we can probably speed up
He
a
was
little bit
still
on
your
this bit, because
father.
this is just Rebecca and
I was
Cameron.
just, I was trying. Okay, I'm fine with that, and we can do that. I was trying to not skip past any voice lines because they're nice. But no,
No,
I'm
but
fine
I
with
think
it.
given we're this one, but basically this conversation is just Rebecca trying to get him to stay,
And then she does, of course.
Oh,
and then he does, of course.
do it. Of course you'll have
And then, of course, he's like, "Your dad's gonna shoot
Anna
me."
is a sweet too. I can be very convincing.
I mean,
I
she's
like
not
that
wrong.
one.
She can be very convincing, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I've got this under control.
Mhm.
It's worth noting that in a strange way, this is a repeat / reversal of the roles of CJ and Kieran. See, where Cameron, the CJ equivalent, is the withdrawn, cantankerous, doesn't think there's any hope for him. Done terrible things.
Yeah, no, so true. I do the fucking similarities between
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot.
Little faith.
You do talk about
Such a
that a lot.
Thomas.
And here comes
Hey, bro.
Grand
I hope you
Dad.
can stay-
Of course, the dark truth is revealed in this moment.
No.
If Jacob is
Papa?
CJ, CJ is Jacob.
I do wonder. I like to think that
CJ French.
Cameron doesn't understand anything about what was just said other than the feeling.
Hey,
And he's
just
like,
the
he's
look
getting
and
his
the
gun.
vibe.
He's
He's
getting
getting his gun. He's getting his gun. I mean, yeah, no.
He's just, I mean,
There he is with combat
with
music. Oh my
what year are we in right now? And that's the weapons being used. Just that's fucking nuts.
Nice going off.
no! Wait, Cameron! Dishonor me. He's my
What did you think he was doing? Cool down hugs work 60% of the time, every time.
Oh, I'm not sure. Were you here for whenever Wallace was? I can't remember who was playing, but Wallace was
probably.
with us watching, and he was translating the lines. It was really.
Oh yeah, no, I
funny.
wasn't there for that.
No, it was really funny because he's like, "What do you think I'm gonna like him make you a whore?" and shit like that. It's really funny. Super like out of character for the responses. I was like,
I know,
"Oh my
I know.
god."
I'm not going anywhere.
That's how you calm
Anyway.
someone down. Just be calm in turn. It's really fine. Okay, now this is a really important scene.
Yes.
Because this is the beach, yada yada. Oh, look, little flash of a Fae
little
watching.
flash right there.
And then wait for it.
Out there's an island.
Shut up. We're not going down this road. That will come later with his cameo.
Cameron?
Okay, Rebecca turns up. And look at her
I
hand.
believe you.
Go back.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hebe, Hebe, and Oxo rings.
Interesting.
Sarah, if we take what Crow says at face value in earlier chapters that she's the left and Sarah's the right, then wow, boy, does that make sense that a piece of Sarah, or even Sarah herself,
I
has
believe you.
those rings and active to boot.
I always believed you. Please.
Where the
We
fuck
can
did you get those
figure out a
rings?
way to keep you s- I know
I mean,
you
he's
won't hurt
understandable,
me.
considering what those rings have mean
I've
to him.
thought
It's not
about it.
surprised that he's like, dude, what the
Please,
fuck?
Cameron. I know you see things. Whatever's happening,
Why do you have
you
those?
shouldn't have to face it alone.
I don't know. I'm not sure this means anything, but I just really find it interesting that CJ has a glow around his entire body, and only.
Could be the level of power he has. There could be a number of things.
Right.
Or it could just be a
I
visual
want to
thing.
be
Like,
I
we
don't know
don't
if it's a
know.
visual. Well, because it's only around his.
Don't you
It's only around his
understand?
arms. I don't know. It probably doesn't mean anything. I'm just reading in.
Being paranoid, it's
have to do
dude.
this
That's a
alone.
requirement. If you want a
I
theory
never
craft with
did.
dude, you got to be paranoid of everything.
I mean,
See
you
that
know
sand? That
I mean-
sand could mean things.
It's rough and it's coarse and it gets
Oh, so it's dry.
fucking. But I mean,
It's
Anon
almost
likes
the
to
same
include
color.
little details like that. So I mean, it's not like
He
it's
does
not
love
like-
to do it.
Afraid of-
He does love to do that. And there's another Fae.
This
Mhm.
is it.
That is not the sun.
That is not the sun. The sun doesn't. Yeah, that's another Fae. That's the Fae
This
watching.
is it. This is me.
Remember,
This
a
is
certain
everything I am.
Sarah said how she used to watch people have sex on the beach.
Oh, very
Well,
good.
yes, Kieran floating in front of Crow's
My hope
core. Her core?
Rotten into
Question mark.
fear. My desire.
My hope rotten into fear. My
Twisted into
desire
rage.
twisted into pain.
My love.
I mean,
Twisted into something unrecognizable. Is there any trace of who I really am left? What do you even know?
she hears Sarah and it's Crow. Woof.
No.
In a way.
In a way,
Yes.
yes. All of which are
It's
true.
almost over.
Mhm.
Our path nears its
But yes,
end.
this is the left and the right, the two halves of Crow, or
Our
two parts of
pieces
Crow.
have all found each other.
Or rather, simply realize the truth. You are weakness,
You're unique,
unneeded
subconscious.
baggage.
That's a key element there. You were the unique subconscious. That's a very key line to me because they're specifically talking about Kieran. So that links into what I think Kieran is and why she is the true Crow, which we will get into in a bit.
Spoilers, dude. Calm down.
Oh, I'm gonna stab you. Why did I? Make
Oh,
you?
of course you would stab me. Oh, fucking normal British response. I'll just fucking shoot you.
Am I
No,
doomed
I'll
to
stab you because
self-knowledge?
it's more likely to keep you
Purpose.
alive.
Are
I
you
need
the
someone to
person
be
you
my
serve?
technician.
That's fucking terrifying. I'm gonna keep you alive, but only to fix the UCAS.
Priorities, my guy. Come on. But yes, what Kieran, the dark, the angry part of Crow, the Crow that we know. Am I doomed to self-annihilation? Are you the proof? But even the other part, even Sarah's like,
You've
well, what is your
ruined enough.
purpose? I don't fully
I
understand.
have no more time for games with you.
They're coming.
Are you the weakness they'll try to exploit?
They don't know what I intend.
Pathetic.
I've been with you this entire time.
Curse, if nothing else.
Why else do you think you could feel me so clearly?
I never left.
And it's
I
true.
saw
Crow
another part
never
of
actually
me.
left her, as we saw back in
Partners focus on
37.
you.
Crow never
Yep.
Kind
left.
he
Yep.
actually loves.
So it wasn't really that Sarah filled in Crow's part. It's just that she became aware of that connection. Can I low-key say that flash of
Yeah, I
Sarah
know.
looking-
Of Sarah looking.
So
yeah,
it just
yeah,
looked
yeah, yeah.
really good with the exact same expression that Crow. Bear in mind that's also almost certainly what the other Fae see when they look, because that's to them that's what Crow always looked like. Sarah / Crow.
Oh wow,
always.
that's actually fucking. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. They all
Yeah.
she always looked like that.
CJ, why the fuck does Sarah look like that?
Yeah, but they're not going to question it, right? Why would they?
Well, I mean, she did. What's her name?
Well, yeah, but there's something wrong with that fairy, and it's like, but even Myrna, who's meant to be uber powerful, was like, took her a minute to be like, wait a second, Sarah, not quite. But also, it's just like the goddess is now talking to Kieran as Crow, which she is. So, what are you doing? Just let us do our thing. I saw your true color again already. Why is this a surprise? Krodyarg's plans endanger our beloved and everything he wants. You've never changed. But although this is Kione, who assuming that she knows what her beloved is.
Uh-oh. Your audio. Uh-oh.
Am I back now?
You're good. You're good. We'll continue forward as if nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Nothing ever happens.
That's so true. God, I love you spitting facts like that. This
Right.
just in, Syria. No, I'm just
Nothing ever happens.
kidding. Nothing.
All right. Yes, even Keone reaching out to Crow here, or she sees them as Crow. You run from us. You run from that abomination you made, which presumably is referring to.
I feel like that's referring to.
Hayato?
Yeah, it has to be Hayato. He's the only one that ever gets referred to as abomination. Tsukiko does get referred to that as well, maybe.
But they probably don't see much difference between the two, to be honest.
No, they don't. They don't, because, yeah, I mean, just, yeah, obviously, we know why.
But this is a good commentary on just how far Crow has run from herself. Like, trauma that Crow is
a good point. It's like, you're running from yourself now. How could you forget your own face? I'll never know. Easy.
And poor Kieran just freaking out.
Poor
experiencing
Kieran.
it. I mean, dude, this whole chapter has
poor
been
Kieran and CJ, man. The punching bags of the fucking group.
Yeah,
it's just so
you're not wrong.
So fucking over.
But it's okay. Everything's going to be okay now because the hero we need is about to arrive.
Everything's going to be okay. Nothing ever happens.
Nothing ever happens. But yes, the hero we need is about to arrive, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. And this is, yeah, comes in the form of milk.
It's worth noting that Kira nearly dies just there, and her hair streak was the same color as Kay's hair, spiritually on the other side. It's grey with death.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's probably just a thing to do with lighting. It's just interesting, though.
No, I mean, I don't disagree. You're right.
Please.
And here is the hero we need. The ever horny.
That's right, the milk.
Kira now being bombarded with memories that she probably doesn't think are hers. But Saki's like, what the hell is going on? I'm right here, I'm with you. And her ring freaks out as soon as she touches Kieran, which is an interesting note. Now that we know that it's through the Hebe ring that Miss Crow is doing a lot of what she's doing, which makes sense, because it's the connection that's at the core of Crow, or connecting to the core, rather.
Huh. Oh, okay. I was just checking. It looks like something happened to her jacket there.
So, yeah, I thought about it a bit from our conversation earlier. I think that one of the key elements is that Crow is deeply interwoven with Hebe's power right now, because that's what she's been using for a long time to create the shard that she, to manipulate things. Mm-hmm. Using the Hebe connection between the shattered shards, all that stuff. And please note, Diary is in Hebe colors. Teal hair, teal things, teal tattoos, teal.
Diary?
Yep. Diary steps in to save Kieran.
I remember a graveyard.
And it's interesting that
CJ, but Sarah was his. Except she was always Crow.
She was Crow. She was always Crow.
And I love this part because when we did our episode on when did her and Kieran have that talk? Was that 46, 47?
I want to say it was 45 or 46.
Mm-hmm. I asked Anon if there's anything that we should go back and relook at, because there's always gonna be stuff that we miss, and he was like, yeah, you should go really look back at the you should really go look back at the talk
Kieran
with,
and
Kieran and
Diary meet, yeah.
And I was like, oh. I did. I was like, okay, that's definitely interesting. I don't know what part of this he was talking about, but I mean, it's interesting. And that now
probably the fact that she refers to her as part of her, she doesn't actually refer to her separately from Sarah. And
right,
Crow,
and the ocean as well being the same place.
Yep.
As well. And then.
Yep.
And then Diary.
Of course,
like,
Diary's just like, yeah, of course, duh.
I said that before. Didn't I say it the last time we were here? Yeah.
Which she did.
It
is her. There's only one her. Well, who did you think I meant?
Here.
Whoa.
Mindfuck. You're inside Crow in the ocean that she always wanted.
Crow and I couldn't.
She always wanted her own ocean. She wanted to be a dragon under the waves, graceful and joyous. To remember that part of herself. I wonder what she
do
made you
mean,
for.
Made?
She made you just like she made me. We're the same thing, aren't we? Gah.
Same thing?
Notice that every time someone points that out to her, she freaks out with pain.
I know. I mean,
It
yeah,
shows you
that's
how
been
far hard she's fighting against the revelation.
It's been her. I mean, that's been her entire thing the entire time. Did you think those were stars?
Did you think those were stars?
Did you think those were stars? Oh my God, she's trying to look in. Don't let her
And
in.
that's Tsukiko searching,
Mm-hmm.
who Diary's absolutely terrified of. Bless her.
Right. Which is really funny because from Diary's perspective, yeah, they are fucking like these monsters trying to get in.
Yeah, like they're literally like eldritch horrors that are trying to break in and tear her world apart.
Mm-hmm.
Monsters.
So she's obviously referring to everybody, the goddesses in Tsukiko here.
Yes.
Was it this one?
That's the scariest of them all. Which is, again, not super.
I mean, I don't blame you.
I
Tsukiko
don't
is pretty
blame
fucking
you.
intimidating. I mean, even people in the
Well,
community
as
still
a-
have doubts about Tsukiko.
Well, I definitely don't after this chapter. I did before with the way that how she acted, but I'm on the bandwagon now. That's just how she is.
Yeah.
Instead of it being that's her intention, like she just doesn't know any better, right? And
she is
I'm sure
learning,
she has some
slowly.
things she could learn, right? Yeah, I definitely think she can learn. But like from a natural Fae point of view, looking at anything Hayato Tsukiko related is got to be like the most terrifying shit because it's like an amalgamation of things that don't fucking like it's all half soul shit. And that shit has always been white and black.
Yeah,
and
it's
fucking
energy
weird
that's
and scary.
completely alien to anything else they've seen. It's at the most deep-seated thing. It is unnatural
Yeah,
because it's
they don't call
artificial.
Hayato or Tsukiko like some like oh my god you fucking you like they call Crow like a monster, right?
Yeah.
But they call them an abomination as it's just another level of like fucked, and I love it.
Yeah, because it's that because Fae and a lot of the spiritual stuff we see is all about the natural elements and concepts of existence in the world.
Yeah, and those
Even
are
as weird
not
as the
natural.
other side gets. And yeah, and Tsukiko is
A monster
distinctly
implying that
unnatural.
it's like a monster implying that it's natural but still fucking terrifying. Abomination is
exactly.
like nope, that's not supposed to be a fucking thing. Mm-hmm.
Diary repeats just how scared Crow is. Like this is a fear reaction.
I do I do think it's really interesting. She's like, she's so scared the world's coming to an end, but then she's like, I wish I could tell her everything's okay, but it's like she doesn't need me anymore because she's already resigned herself. She's like, yep, it's gonna happen. There's no point.
Yeah.
Where's that center? This isn't it.
We're close. It's the bottom of this ocean.
The figurative ocean. The metaphorical ocean. It is this physical ocean, but it's not physical, it's metaphorical, spiritually speaking.
I know. Sorry, Diary.
And Kieran makes a pretty gutsy move here to summon Tsukiko.
Well, I feel like out of everyone, it was the right choice because we know that Tsukiko doesn't have a, you know, I mean,
she's not an antagonist.
He
in
does
this
have
situation.
she. I mean, Jamie does have her alter ego, Tsukiko, but it's not the same as summoning fucking Carpo or anybody else.
Why would you let it in?
Surprise!
What the hell?
It's the patented Tsukiko jump scare.
Jamie,
Right.
what happened to you?
But yeah, Jamie's a little fucked up right now.
Missy? What the hell happened?
And she's only able to physically show her, but this is a representation of the of the
Right.
three pieces they've got tearing apart.
Diary, poor Diary.
No, don't hurt me.
Those are the three, and there are
chained to you. Yes, they're pulling her apart. He has lost control. Yeah,
Yeah.
it shows you how essential CJ is.
Wait, what the hell was that? Why did that dead kid look like him?
Oh boy. And
Okay, so
Sukiko
yeah, I'm gonna say
doesn't
this part's
know.
really important. This part's really important. I love this part.
Sukiko, who's always seemed so all-knowing and insightful, is completely flying blind here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth noting that that's her more human parts are coming to the fore in response to that.
Right. I really love this because I didn't think this was a big problem, but a lot of the times Tsukiko didn't tell everybody what was going on. And she didn't tell CJ for the specific reason, which we know is that the goddesses can hear everything that CJ, knows or hears, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's best
Anyone
to
who's
keep
got a
him in the
ring.
dark, right?
Yeah.
Now we did get to see some planning, right, with a couple of the other characters that CJ wasn't included in, which I was really appreciative of. But a lot of the times Tsukiko's helped, it's really seemed like, okay, I'm here now to solve everything, and it hasn't been that quite yet, and I really appreciated that. And this part I really love because I'm so glad Tsukiko didn't know, because if Tsukiko knew and didn't tell CJ, or we didn't figure this out sooner, it would have been like just another gut punch, and it would have just been like, oh my god,
An unnecessary one as well. Like, there's no real justification at that point.
Yeah, right. I'm so super glad with the way this was handled. I'm super fucking happy.
Yep.
And now it's like there's no time for plans. We just need to fucking.
So yeah,
find
if
him
we fully lose
and-
control, these three will be here in this world. That's the doomsday scenario at play
Yes.
here that requires issues.
Yep.
They'll tear the world apart trying to get to CJ. Fighting over him, for that matter. It's actually a really important line there. If you
You're
go back
proof of
one
that.
and into the, you must. Yeah, we know not what's, but our bond with her is not severed. You are proof of that.
Right, because she's hurt.
And Tsukiko's known that. I mean, it's kind of. I think CJ knows as well.
I
that
think
Kieran
yeah,
is Crow.
I think
They
at
just-
the beginning of the story, you could have, been like, no, she's not the same. She's just a byproduct, right? But she's still. But at this point, come on, right?
No, you can't get away from it at this point.
No.
I think even Leia is aware. It's heavily implied that she was aware.
Yeah, I mean, I could accept that if that was the case.
But look who it is.
Yeah, very interesting. The two
But
that show up here that.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Mikan and Mayu now alongside Matoi. So my guess here is that that the emotional bonding effect of them, like of her adopting them and then really
Wait.
becoming family.
Are they wearing the fucking? Hold on. I just need to look back at
Wait,
something.
what the- wait,
I need to look at. I need a close up of Tsukiko. She's not wearing the. She's not wearing the thing. that
The full
Jamie wears.
necklace?
Yeah, she's not wearing the full necklace, but I think I might be wrong
Wait,
here.
what?
I think the maids might be individually, because that one on the right looks orange or yellow to me,
I mean, that would be one way to do it, wouldn't it? Would be to.
or maybe that's just the regular colors, and I'm just fucking.
It might just be the regular colors. I mean, it's an interesting possibility. I certainly can't rule it out. I mean, I think it could be that. It could be, like I said, that they're just now emotionally closer to her. They've bonded close enough that
Mhm.
they're able to spiritually join her on the other side, such as their closeness with Jamie. Either way, it's cool to see them.
I
in
do
their
find it
two
interesting
form.
though that I can't remember. I suck with the names. The one on
Rickon.
the right.
Yeah, Rickon.
It doesn't look like she has the spiritual lines on her like the other two have. But I
I mean,
don't
it
know.
could be hidden behind her bangs.
Yeah, or it could be white. It could be white. Could,
Yeah.
could be a different color. The diary freaking out.
I'm proof of what?
The tiny touch of levity in
And
this
the
endless
crow
sea
is
of
hiding
trauma.
Something. That must
The
mean.
diary is like, I don't know what's going on, but it's all bad.
You're right.
Did you know?
Kieran's like, did you know? And Tsukiko's like, eh? It's interesting to note that Tsukiko doesn't directly answer her question per se with this. She's like, we knew, but we didn't know. Like, we saw the pieces, but we put them
Right.
together.
So it's like it was like, yeah, they've always looked the same. So why would we? And after
Question
you
that.
connected with him,
Yeah.
why would it look any different to us? It didn't.
And yeah, Sika is right. You got to keep your eye on the ball now. Like, emotional gut punch revelations aside, we need to, resolve this. Oh look, it's a crow moment from Kieran again.
It's a Crow moment.
If we reach her core, she won't listen to reason.
This is what Kieran's
We had to
like
what would
resolve
happen to
here.
Misaki? Our body.
Sakiko's like, wait, what? You can't be suggesting you would disappear too. Like, that's openly basically
So
saying
Misaki
that
would
they're the
have
same
her
being.
life back?
Yeah.
But
I
Kieran
mean,
is willing to go that far. Like, this is a really important thing because Kieran is willing to put Misaki's life ahead of her own.
Right. Yeah. I mean
And
that's super.
That's
I mean,
something that
makes...
Crow and even Sarah not necessarily would be able to do if it was CJ's life at stake. You know, like
Mhm.
CJ would want if the choice was between CJ and all the girls, he would want someone to make the choice to fight for all the girls. He would want that.
Right. But of course,
But-
we both know that Sarah and
Crow
Crow wouldn't do that.
probably wouldn't do that. They couldn't. And that's the key difference between Kieran, Crow, and even Sarah. Like, I'm not saying Sarah doesn't care about the others. She absolutely does. But it's not quite in the same way as Kieran does.
Mhm.
And in a way, it's because Kieran, I think, she understands CJ. She's more human, and she understands
Right,
CJ
which is
better in that
another.
regard.
It's just another big point. I think it's really important for Oot. CJ isn't a god, and
No.
I feel like a lot of people forget about that when they talk about stuff that happens.
Yeah. He may have the
Everyone
potential,
would
and he
be
may have the
fine.
powers further down the line, but right up
The
till
world would
now,
be safe.
nope.
I'm tired of being the problem.
None of this would be happening if it weren't for me.
Those lines could so easily be coming
Which
from
is
Crow.
it's fucking hilarious because this is literally just another way to phrase it's Crow's fault. Just so funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So
In a sense,
funny.
yeah.
This is all hashtag Crow's fault.
Let me take responsibility for once in my fucking life. Bring you there. We'll
But
stop
Kieran's
this,
teetering on the
no
very
matter
edge
the
here.
cost.
Like, she's, I think,
Mhm.
unconsciously aware, and is showing here. Like,
I think her
I'm
admitting,
willing to kill
like,
Crow, and then Crow doing that will kill me. She doesn't really engage with why that is, but she's willing to do it.
she knows. She just isn't saying it out loud.
She tries to
She's,
stop
yeah, the
us.
denial is that deep in her that she doesn't want to consciously accept it.
I'm going to kill Crow Yarrick. Once and for all.
Really complicated suicide.
Yes.
Crow colors there from around Tsukiko, which is interesting. Tsukiko's like, have you figured it out yet?
I don't care. The world's at
And
stake.
Kieran doesn't care.
And that's perfect. I don't care. I don't care what the answer is.
I'm sick
Yeah.
of people
She's
paying
dancing
for the crime
around
of my
it.
existence.
And again,
Like
these
this.
lines could apply to Crow
I won't.
again and again and again.
Right. It's yep.
Sarah
So
told me.
regret and regret.
She told me
And
trusting them
regret,
now.
yeah.
If the only good I ever do is stop myself from being fine, that's all my life will have meant.
The only thing I can do is stop myself from hurting others. That's the double meanings that she's doing, not even intending it, I think, or consciously at least. Such good dialogue.
I tried.
Tried, and that has to be enough. And then it changes to blue, changes to Sarah color. You're more than that, she says, as the world changes to Sarah color.
Mm-hmm.
I'll remember who you really are. Oof, such a poignant line.
You know what's going to happen. Will you still take me to her core?
This is actually a big leap of faith by Diary. You're in such pain too, just like wow. Or Sarah, more likely. The piece of her you know best, so yeah, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah sent Diary to find her, which means that on some level, Sarah wanted Kieran to act. or
Yeah.
to at least have a chance to act.
Well,
Because Sarah
I'm
says
of
to
the
her,
yeah.
"Do what
I'm,
you think is right.
I'm about to say,
Trust your instinct.
I'm
Don't
of
listen
the
to anything
opinion.
else."
Yeah, well, it's because Sarah knew that if what was going to happen was going to happen, what's happening now, she knew that she wasn't going to be able to stop it. Whether or not she wanted to or couldn't, it doesn't matter. I'm more inclined to believe that she couldn't because Crow was like, I could absorb her at any instant. She's just a part of me, blah, blah. Crow, that part of Crow's making the big decisions now, especially later when we see like Sarah like all bleak-eyed and
Yeah, but at
repeating
the
what
same time,
Crow
if it
says.
were that simple, why is Kieran able to resist when she's
Because
less powerful than Sarah?
because she's not fully, and I think that's pretty clear.
Because of the Misaki connection, you think? Yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, look, let's not meta it here. Like Anon has like strictly stated all the time that Kieran's the wild card. She's like unbound by like restriction, and her role is undetermined. She's able to do whatever the fuck she wants, and it really feels that way, especially with this chapter with her being like, yeah, if anyone's gonna end Crow, it's gonna be me, and it's gonna end myself too. I will be the one to do that. I'm the only one able to do that. It really makes sense that Sarah's like, oh, Kieran isn't able to. Kieran's able to do her own stuff without Crow. I mean, Crow tries really hard at the end to make Kieran stop. We see that, but she's unable to make it happen. So it's not like she doesn't have total. I mean, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that at this point, Crow couldn't force Kieran to do anything if she tried hard enough. At the end of this chapter, at least, I think Kieran's really gotten a foothold at this point where she can't be brainwashed, like, because that was a big part at the beginning of this chapter of 45, which is like if Crow wanted to take over or Sarah wanted to, there's nothing that Kieran could do. And I just don't. I feel like, especially after this chapter, it's not that.
I think that was
anymore.
true. I think that was true for the body, but I don't think it's the same necessarily for reintegration or anything similar. Like, they could take control of Kieran's body if they wanted to, but that's not necessarily the same as taking control of her soul.
Well, I don't know, because at the end of this chapter, we see that, like, when Crow's talking down to Kieran, she literally summons Sarah to, like, say the hurtful shit that she doesn't want to hear from Sarah.
Does she though? Does she? Is that an fully intentional action? I do wonder. And
Okay.
this is her core. So Sarah has as much right to be there as a part of Crow as she does.
Sure, but I mean it.
And Sarah says other things. Like it's key to note that in her dialogue where she's repeating Crow, the stress on which words that she's putting meaning into on any given sentence is different.
Yeah,
which changes the meaning of the sentence dramatically.
Let's try to get there, because I do realize we're talking about a scene that's going to happen later.
Yeah.
Because then we can really,
well, we've got a lot to get through even before we get to that. Yeah.
Never again.
Kieran's resolve is made here. She's willing to kill even herself.
This may be a two-parter. I'm not gonna lie. This may be a two-parter.
Maybe. Here we jump to another area that we think is a flashback, at least initially. Different colors of the goddesses flashing up there.
Guys, I don't know if you guys saw them in the clouds, but the colors.
I'm gonna stab you. I imagine. But yes, now we skip to Misaki, and as we are soon to discover, she is in the past. She teleports back to Kamigawa
but it's during
on the night
the
of the
storm.
The eponymous
the
storm.
Damn storm.
And here's Cameron. With red rings, is worth noting. Not active ones.
It's been a while since we've seen those.
Yeah.
Why are they red? Well, that's because...
I'm not going to say anything.
It's
like, I don't even know what to start. But Misaki, bless her heart, she tries. She's just like, I don't even know to start, but I need to tell you, I'm from the future.
Right.
Can you imagine trying to explain that? There has to be a reason. And all he can do is look at her rings, which are active, and he's like, bruh, what? Why do you have those rings? And he's like, oh, fuck. And then they bink, bink, bink. Uh-oh. Oh, no. No. I need more time. I can't. And then there's half souls, and now we have another moment which is just going to add even more to the saga of the shotgun. Because guess who has Mizzy's shotgun? Boink.
Which is the power is purple and green. Interesting. Interesting.
With white and yellow shells and purple and yellow shells.
Yeah, we're not gonna. I have nothing to say about that. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's a weapon that OG had. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and then it's been
maybe legitimately, because we haven't seen CJ's sword. Maybe it's legitimately as simple as like those are just the weapons that OG used. There's nothing else.
It is the concept of a weapon that can take on many forms.
Right.
Cameron he's a bit ruder than CJ, but he still has the same look. I can't help you. I can't help anyone. You need to protect yourself. Get out of here while you can. And Misaki herself said it. You sound just like him. Things are going wrong. I'm trying to save your son.
Son, how old do you think I am? Which is really funny.
Well, he could be. He does look a bit younger here, so I think this is like late teens, early 20s Cameron.
Mm-hmm. Well, because this would have been I mean. Yeah,
well, he was drawn here to this point in time, as Hayato points out later. He says that
remember
Cameron.
How old is he when he dies?
I don't know.
I feel like he wasn't that old. I feel like he was like his
late 20s.
20s.
Yeah, late 20s, 30s maybe. And then her ring activates, and that's how his Hebe ring gets activated. Which is an interesting bit of causality, as
now it's over. The things that never happened.
Right. That's it. I'm fucked. And he doesn't get angry at her. He didn't decide anything. He wanted a reason for being here, and that's what he doesn't blame her. Don't let them take anything more from you. Oof. If you can't fight, then you need to get out now. You're here because they want you to make your own decisions. Ugh.
Which is, again, the entire thing that Hayato's been saying to CJ, like, make your own decisions, please do
Except
something.
You should make this decision because this is the best decision. So he's like, make it. You're free to make your choices as long as you make this one.
Yeah. I mean,
Classic
look,
Hayato.
if it helps, he's just as out of
time. Okay, title drop. There Wrap it up. Credits roll.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of the Oot Cast.
Yes, but it's an interesting bit of causality at play there. Funny how things work out. That calls a relationship I wouldn't have foreseen. Yes, it was grandfather pulling her to him, which meant she popped up in his timeline, and then she interacted with Cameron, which is the reason his Hebe ring is activated. Which lends the possibility he may never have actually had a Hebe shirt, or it was meant to be Kay.
Which, I mean,
or one of Kay's kids.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't not believe.
We don't know. We just don't know. There's not enough information to really make much of it. But yeah, she does look a lot like Kay, must be said. It's Kay with dark hair and no freckle. But it's worth noting that Grandpa shows a different face here, and Misaki is actually right in calling him out on it. She's like, save the sociopath act for someone else. Dump truck.
Yep.
I love the fact that pretty much all you can see of Lindsay are her eyes and her tits.
Nothing else.
She's just eyes and tits in this shot. Oh, and wings, I guess. See?
There we go.
That's it. Oh, hi, Lindsay. If you showed me just her head, I wouldn't know who it is. What good is that going to do? Oh, I agree, really. They're both made of rouge, but they do have a part to play. Like, this is a real... Yeah, I'm just going to send these two people out to die after I,
I mean,
worked with them.
I mean, it just doesn't surprise me. We've seen him kill so many people. I mean...
But it just goes to show that how he really is a fucking sociopath.
It's, dude, I mean, I can't blame it. It's hard being right all the time. It's hard being right all the time, Rayze. Don't you know? That's why it's okay to kill people.
I'm not even. It's fine.
You're not going to interact with that one? It's okay,
No,
don't worry.
no, I don't need to. I'm good.
And I do think it's really funny. He's like, if they somehow stop Crow by some miracle, fantastic. I highly doubt that's going to happen though. And if she kills them, she'll absorb that shard back. There you go.
For all the contempt, I hold that spirit to him. It has inadvertently given us exactly the solution we need. But this is where he reveals the other half of his plan. That because Misaki has rings connecting herself to the goddesses and Tsukiko through Kieran / Crow / Sarah
/
diary ? But no, it's, that's why she can, in theory, fulfill CJ's role in this. But it's worth noting he uses his human face here. He's very nice to her. He does a lot of everything he can to try and get her on his side. But she's like, save the sociopathy for someone else to work on. Showing that Misaki is not all sweetness and sugar. She's got some steel.
I mean, look. Yeah, I mean, Kieran and Misaki are similar. Then they seem to think that they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to come from somewhere.
Grandfather says it as well, that she's a lot like Kay, and Kay has certainly got steel. Yeah, this is just Grandfather saying she wants Misaki to take CJ's role with Tsukiko so that the goddesses can be chained and contained.
I mean,
despise him.
I despise what he represents.
But this is again classic Grandpa. Like, he's like, if anything, I'm sure he feels the same way I do now that he knows the truth.
Right?
And it's like, wow, okay. Because
anybody with a brain would clearly feel the exact same way.
The way I do, absolutely, yes. And again, he doesn't know that. But yeah, I mean, yes, there's the danger of him being torn apart, and then the puppet.
I mean,
yeah,
nothing he's saying is false. It's just like we don't know if it's 100% gonna be that way. It's just so fucking.
Yeah, he makes lots of assumptions based on actual evidence, but he makes assumptions off of them and then just runs with it.
You do nothing but lie. So here's the thing, though. He doesn't lie. He says all the truth.
Which is why she looks away when she says it, because she knows on some level that's not entirely the case. He's not a god, Misaki. He's not even one of the pieces of that god they're looking for. Technically true, but not true at the same time, because if he is indeed based on Jacob, and he has at least part of Jacob's soul,
I do
then
wonder
he has part of
OG's
power.
We have no evidence for this, but I do wonder if that makes him the perfect candidate to be like to recollect all the shards. Because if he's like a vessel, but his basis isn't that he was a shard of the original, like we know that his connection to it is. I wonder if that just makes him more of a viable.
No, I mean that's perfectly possible. No, I don't think that's a ridiculous idea at all. That's quite a solid idea. Good. It's like
breaking a sphere up, and then
one
of those shards tries to become the new sphere, but then you create a sphere that's just hollow.
Well,
you know what I mean?
There's a part of this which is an interesting, upfully debate. Like, it's an idea I've toyed with on and off. And we've known for a long time that CJ is going to end up absorbing other OG shards at some point, okay?
Right?
And that he needs to do that. Like, it's even pointed out by proxy in Kione's arc that he needs to do that. Whoever ends up in charge, becoming the OG, needs to do that in order to collect his pieces of power and become an ascent completely. So that means, though, but the problem is every CJ shard we've seen has a different personality. They have traits in common, but none of them, by the judgment of the goddesses, have ever actually been like OG until CJ. And CJ is that way because he is OG's best traits distilled into a person. Not just his best traits either. The traits that, like, everyone's familiar with the term rose-tinted glasses, right? If you imagine the people who love you most in life, or who have ever loved you most in life, created a version of you in alignment with that love and those feelings, then it's going to be your best features and the things that are most impressive
it's
about
literally
you
going
by
to be your
default.
perfect self.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying this is any kind of justification. I'm just going through the mechanics.
Oh, so what we're agreeing is that the goddesses were right with it? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh god, I'm sure someone will try to spin my words that
Yeah.
way. But but you see what I'm saying is that or by making CJ the way they did, they may have inadvertently created an even better version of OG than OG originally was, in a very loose sense.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder the origins of OG.
I mean, well, is he a natural part of the universe? Was he originally a human who ascended to take on the role? We don't know.
I really do wonder.
We
if
don't
it's
know.
I do wonder if it's. I mean, we don't know. You're right. It would make sense to me if he was human ascended to be, but like we don't know.
Well, we know that people can take over power sets because that's what the Mara tried to do with Orkso. So that at least is a possibility.
I mean, and Tsukigo being created and taking over.
Yeah, so that sets up the possibility that he was human originally and he replaced, or maybe just it was an empty throne and he took it back in the day. But who knows?
Anon has implied that other gods exist, or other entities.
Other
so
entities,
it's just very interesting.
There's a lot of potential probabilities in play. And Misaki says, whatever CJ is, doesn't matter. He's still him to me. And I think that's going to be the sentiment of most of the girls eventually. In some cases, like Vic's going to be obviously have trouble. Teresa, I think, is going to have some trouble. But for everyone else, they don't care. They love CJ, and CJ is CJ. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but this is where he explains the mechanics of her taking CJ's place to regulate the goddess's powers, because her power as the shard of Hebe, of Hebe, is the most similar to CJ's, and she has the same basic architecture.
But again, he's like, now the problem is he's gonna die. There's something we can do to change that. I'm like, but you're not. That's not true. That's not true. We don't know that. We have no evidence to say that that's definitively going to happen. It's
just that he can't figure out. It's just because grandfather's mindset though is if he can't figure it out, no one can.
Like they just keep dying for no reasons. He's eventually going to die, and if he dies, then this is going to happen anyway. It's like no.
He doesn't have. I mean, he's incredibly intelligent, but he lacks imagination in some respects, so we say. But yeah, it's he makes his play to appeal to Misaki and explains things.
What is this? What is this?
It's the symbol for OG. The flash of brilliance of glory itself. That's why he's the aspect of glory, because glory is always fleeting. A momentary ideal. Grandpa does a great job of undermining what we think we know, because he just asks all these questions that don't really have answers yet.
To be fair, I think, for the most part, other than, I mean, look, I'm not saying everybody would act the way that he does, but I feel like he acts pretty, like, I don't know, asking questions
like
is a pretty,
mortal.
Like,
yeah,
pretty
he's
human
a mortal
thing to do.
He's a mortal with a mortal's mind, trying to understand how immortals and intrinsically different conceptual beings function and see the universe. Like, this is one of his problems. He's, in a weird sense, he tries to bring the goddesses down to his level of understanding, when, like, that's not how it works. But yes, he points out that Zuhiko's stability is one of her core things.
Very interesting.
We can go relatively quickly through this because it doesn't explain anything that we don't
Yeah.
fully understand beyond the left and right. It's just a re-explanation of the goddesses. The chase of ideals line is interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, it does look nice on it, doesn't it? With the two colors. You're gonna have to click because this will just keep flickering. I will warn
What
you
do
now.
you mean? We're just gonna keep looking at it.
All right, go to Kieran again. As she journeys lower and deeper, here's the onsen. And the onsen, which
Well,
and Half Soul is dissolving in the onsen, which is interesting.
mm-hmm. I wonder, because this is going to be Uxo here. I wonder if that's implying that Uxo recycles half souls into new souls.
Potentially, or that she just is responsible. Bear in mind that half souls are not natural entities; they are unnatural twistings of a soul.
Yeah,
And then
but
it
that's
makes
what I
sense
mean.
that she would want to
Yeah.
restore them to their pure soul state, and then help them pass on. Yeah, scary, Teresa. I've seen the person that you are when you're at your best days and your worst. Who will you be today, the most important day of your life?
It's her! Run!
It's one of them. She's already here. We don't have much time. I don't want her to see me. I don't want to know. That's actually really a good statement coming from.
You look exactly the same. Nothing
has changed. Not since Sarah freed you. But she didn't, did she? You fooled me. You fooled even yourself. Tiny eyes, the most crazy of eyes.
Yes, proven by Crow.
Correct.
You know not what you do, Crow.
I still love you. And she means it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's it's like a parent loving a child. It's like, I know what you're doing,
Right.
and what you're doing is wrong.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Now you will be obliterated. What?
Get us the fuck out of here. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's time for yet another layer of the Vic trauma conga line.
Fuck's sake, dude. Can't do this anymore, man. How hard is it just to... Never mind. It's impossible.
Just let our girl be happy.
It's impossible to like characters that aren't eternally suffering, and it's fucking great. Great. I mean, I just want to point out my two favorite characters are Vic and Kieran, and their backstories fucking suck. Oh my god.
I think the only one who has a potentially worse time of it is CJ himself. Mind you, even Leia's fucked up beyond as well.
I mean, they all have their levels of their own flavors. The level doesn't matter.
If you're gonna, you can't really compare it either.
Yeah,
like trauma is trauma is trauma.
The only person that gets a pass is Ashley because nothing happened.
Because she was left alone by her goddess.
Yeah,
and she got some of it. She got bullied.
I'm about to say she did get bullied by Kieran, but that was only because of Kieran shit.
True. But yes, here they are in another.
I cry for these characters, dude.
This is the school. This is actually one of the earliest places we see another side scene. This is where CJ encounters Keone the first time, and then Crow steps in to save him. Killing half souls, which I presumably are being used by Crow to slow down the goddesses and stop them from reaching her.
Ooh, good point, maybe.
Or at least they're cutting their way through the other side to do so, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say. Or maybe they were sent by Hayato to slow them down. That's probably more likely, in all fairness. Buy them time they need. But yeah, Vic is now in a full-on doom spiral. That's all I do is hurt him. I hurt him, and I hurt him, and I hurt him. And the worst thing that ever happened to him. Like I said, man.
What the fuck are you talking about? It's such a Kieran response.
We're leaving, boink. Now, here's the scene. This is the big one. This is a key scene. Diary. Quiet.
Kieran actually
okay,
big brain.
Nope,
actually
nope.
Big brain
We have the scary cop. We have the scary Leia new song, which is what it's literally called. This piece. Scary Leia, scary Leia, scary Teresa, and scary Kieran.
Mm-hmm.
Her Supreme Royalty, Capo, calls for your attention. Pray, supplicant, and listen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Stewie.
Indeed, you're acting like quite the enigma, Crow.
No, okay, we're not. No.
No.
I'm vetoing this voice.
Oh man, I was gonna do all of her lines too.
No.
All right. Okay, so first you stop me from my insanity, then you commit your own. Makes sense because that she prevented her from. She was the key element that stopped her from winning her gambit in Leia's arc.
Mm-hmm.
But Leia is way more in control here than the other goddesses, which obviously makes sense when you think about it for more than a minute.
Yeah, that's because
her and Capo are so in alignment. And Capo is less crazy than she used to be, apparently. Maybe because you forgot to bring my servant. Maybe you think I'm angry at you because of that. I'm tired of these games, Crow.
I do find her eyes interesting here.
Yes, well, they're sort of half hers, half Carpo's, that's why. But she doesn't have the beady eye problem, which means that she's more in control. Karen realizes it to her credit quite quickly. I know, I get it. You don't want to accept the big... Like, Leia's incredibly, like, heavy-handed and like, arrogant about it, but she is, in her own way, being quite empathetic here.
Yeah, she is, 100%, which is why this scene is so interesting.
Right? I'm not even sure it isn't in my own best interest, which, that's really interesting. Because it means that Carpo, at least, isn't necessarily wanting to do this. She's just kind of being driven by her
Definitely,
own desires.
I wonder if, like, because we're still gonna have to go fix the goddesses. That's what gonna be the next chapters are about. I wonder if we're gonna have a little bit of an easier time with Carpo, because at this point, Leia has broken through to how Carpo originally was, and
At
this
least
is
to some
kind of,
extent.
and this is what we're
Yeah.
seeing here. Hold on one second.
Okay. So, Kieran professing that she doesn't know what's happening, which she doesn't. Although that's more to do with her rejection of Crow than anything else.
Right. Which we show, we know that she has the potential to know what's going on. She just doesn't want to know.
Yeah, and we see that when she does the whole True Crow thing. She walks up and like, this was, she's like, yeah, this was their plan. I'm just going to do a much lesser version of it that isn't going to kill us all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the key line from Leia where she's just like, and what do I care for the world? Like, she's right. She's been completely open about this from the start. Like, she doesn't give a shit about the rest of the world. How could she put him in danger anyhow? While I exist here, she's a bonded servant. Like, this whole section here really makes me think that Leia just, and maybe even Carpo by extension, just doesn't care that CJ is manufactured or created or
she
not
doesn't.
a true show. Like, she doesn't care. She loves him. That is all that matters. Don't you see the contradiction yet? Begging me to stop with yourself.
I'm not assaulting you with riddles for no reason. I am trying to help you.
And she's right, because
Yeah,
if
she
you say
is.
it directly, Karen's not ready to hear it yet. But lead her to the answer, and maybe she'll get it.
What's so
Listen,
confusing?
she doesn't want to accept it. And what happened to that improvement I made?
I 100%. I think her eyes are that way because it's half and half. It's half
What do you mean?
Carpo, half Leia.
Half
Like,
Carpo.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
no, I
full.
agree.
It's
Yeah,
not the
no, I
full
agree.
combo yet, but we're there. We're the
We're
farthest along
approaching
with
it.
her.
Yeah. Dissatisfied with beauty? Showing that a bit of a like, I made you more gorgeous. Why have you turned this down? Unacceptable.
Damn.
And then she actually uses it. What a waste of power to just seriously.
What a waste. It's like yeah, I guess for normal people, not for me. I'm gonna make her magically.
And this is Leia. This is so good. I'll help you, but I won't give you what you want.
I'll help you, flower. No.
Yeah. I won't give you what you want. I'll give you what you need. And note, the proper Carpo soundtrack kicks in here. The scary Leia soundtrack goes away, and this is Carpo.
In my moment of greatest weakness, you forced me to see a truth I couldn't reconcile. It's only fair that I do the same.
She's talking about Crow there, so she feels she owes Crow a debt. Which is actually a huge deal that she's willing to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, considering how Carpo was towards Crow when we first saw her in Leia's arc. Carpo apparently is a lot more stable seeming now, at least
Yeah, I'm telling
relatively.
you, the end of Leia's arc, she is the farthest along than any of the other goddesses, and getting to where we need them to be. I'm telling you, we knew
Yeah,
that
I agree.
Kion and Vic's thing was like totally hers was the least. We never got any reconciliation. I think it's interesting though that I genuinely think that Lee is farther along than Teresa is because I think that Teresa kind of just went along.
Yeah, I agree.
And
she doesn't fully
really
understand Orkso yet.
Right. I think that's the case. I think she just went along with it. She's like, yeah, no, what you're saying makes sense totally. And even though I don't think she totally
this is the key thing. I think that by nature, Teresa's more passive than Leia is, and that extends to her goddess as well. She kind of passively accepts
also
through it all.
It would 100% make sense for Anon to do that, for having one of the goddesses being completely rejected, having one of them being completely like Vic rejecting Kion all the way, Teresa just going along with whatever Uxo wants, and then Leia being like the middle for
Vic
us to
cannot
go forward.
even begin, I think, to fully accept Kione.
Well,
and vice versa,
to be fair,
until,
I'm not disagreeing why she can. It makes sense.
No, why is obvious, but I'm saying that she can't do it until she forgives herself and comes to terms with herself. Like, that was the point of Leia's arc entirely, was Leia accepting who she was.
Mm-hmm.
Vic has to deal with all of her baggage and trauma around CJ and her dad. Like, she has so much to work through before she even starts to consider her relationship with Kione.
I know that Vic's arc was mainly it touched on her and what she did to CJ, but like really it was focused on like her, like what happened in the past with her mom and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, it really didn't touch on the. I mean, it did, but it didn't like fully like it makes sense that we haven't gotten past that point yet. Like, CJ, like Vic has accepted her mom's death, and that was a really big thing for her because that kind of did, allow Kion to, make some events happen in the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But a lot of what Kion did is either unconscious or she did because people were ignorant of her influence. And Vic has power now. And not just like a little. She has the power from Kione that she got, which admittedly wasn't obviously as much as like Leia got or even probably Teresa has got, but still some. And she's got all of her mom's...
I think it's definitely interesting that she doesn't... Well, I mean, you're right. She definitely has some power from Kion, for sure. But I think it's definitely just super telling that she hasn't transformed into Kion form once. It's only been samurai or fucking whatever you want to call it. Her mom's combat form.
The mage form. Yeah. We have. Well, she only gets like her Kione features is when she goes super angry. And then even then she pulls back from it. But so like I said, emotionally I still feel like Vic has the furthest to go, which is probably why Kione's arc is going to be the last goddess arc before the final arc, which is Tsukiki. But yes, so Crow's connection to Hebi is tenuous yet so crucial. See, that's an interesting line. But I assume that's the reason that Crow's making such significant use of it is because it's not being actively used by Hebi, which makes it much easier to use. I would give you other things. They're both speaking. Carpe doesn't override her. They're both speaking together.
Yep, it's super.
Give you what you need, and it's true. Kira needs what's about to happen. Like, she needs it in order to even reach the point that she does at the end. Leia's again right. Either it'll destroy her or free you. Big Carpo. This is probably my favorite scene in this chapter, actually. With Ojon kicking in. And this sequence, to me, is the emotional setup for a huge number of things that are going to probably be very relevant in the future. I believe that is Jacob, and Jacob is OG Reborn. I think that he's got a lot of the memories of OG, maybe even all of them, and that he's trying to fix all of the mistakes that created this mess in the first place.
It really does seem like that with the way that he's talking. Yeah.
And the reason that Misaki can see him is that she is the most unburdened by the baggage that everybody else is carrying, if you see what I mean. And he says as well, she is the part that was his best friend. See, I couldn't talk much. That is a key thing. It's stated that Jacob doesn't speak out loud when he was human and live with cameras up. And I believe that's because he couldn't speak out loud around his father or possibly even his mom, because his mom had rings, without the goddesses hearing his voice. And that would have been catastrophically bad. Because as Hayato points out, it doesn't take much for them to make a connection. But this is such a heartfelt sequence. This is just very genuine, very heartfelt, and he speaks much more maturely than his physical body represents.
Right? Yeah.
But he can't be in front of her until the very last moment. He's not leaving. He never did. He was always with her because he's always watching over them. You didn't lose sight of me even while locked inside Crow's cage, which is a good point. Like she was able to see him even through her imprisonment. You were the part that was my best friend, and I think that's referring to she represents the part of Hebe or he that was his best friend. Like CJ and Ash are.
Yeah,
like,
it
CJ's
always
best friend is Jamie, but CJ and Ash have a very partners in crime vibe to them.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. She's 100% the most similar to CJ and how she is, and 100%. I agree.
And who are you? Like, you're exactly who you should. Like, this is such a heartfelt sentiment, and this last sentiment. These few lines they also are hugely impactful to represent what Kieran is about in this chapter. You're no less precious of being a part of a greater whole. You're no less unique. You're no less you are who you are. And I think that's also true for
Yeah, I do think it's really interesting that he's like, it's my fault things ended up like this, not yours, not theirs, right?
Yeah, not even the goddess. He doesn't even blame the goddesses. He takes full, and that to me is something that only OG is in a position to say. I genuinely do believe that OG sacrificed himself to save the goddesses from being absorbed into himself spiritually, and it was a last-ditch thing, and he didn't know how it would necessarily turn out afterwards. He came back as Jacob, was able to explore and understand what happened, and is now trying to fix things, but he's trying to put CJ in that spot, because CJ, through Tsukiko, can keep the goddesses separate enough that they don't have the same fate that he took extreme measures to prevent from happening with the Shattering. Like, he wants CJ to take his spot. I think in the future there's a good chance that Jacob's going to fully sacrifice himself so that CJ can absorb him into his own soul and get all of his potential and become a true shard in that moment.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
But he probably needs Hebe's power to finish that off, because while there is bits and fragments of Hebe's power around, he doesn't have the same connection to her that he does to the other three, right? Like, she's not chained to Tsukiko. I suspect they're all four parts of that need to be in place before he can give CJ what CJ needs to really start on his road. And I think that might be what Chapter 58 will have. But that's just my guess.
Oh, fucking 58, yeah.
For context, 58 has been mentioned as being the most emotional gut punch of the story. So we'll see if that's the case, and if it punches us even harder than this one does, God have mercy on us all. But Misaki here is just very much being herself, and but that whole scene is just so good. It's my favorite in the chapter. So much emotion and heartfelt feeling in it.
And it's not stopping, baby. That train is going full force.
Now, this I suspect is actually Ash's spiritual realm. This is my actual guess for where this location actually is, which is why it'd be so easy to miss. If Ashley is the vessel, like I theorize she is, she's the vessel for Hebe's powers, then this is it makes sense that she's this tiny island in a vast ocean, because the power needs to fill up the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is her potential all around us. And this one's new. See, she says, and then Diary is like, oh, this is really nice. Diary, who has multiple parts of her that are colored like Hebe, I suspect she may be partly made from a
pretty.
shot from Hebe's power in herself, because she's got the garland of flowers is the same color, the magatam around her
It's so
neck,
small,
the
though.
tattoo on her arm, which by the way is very similar to the tattoo on we see on Throne CJ.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting that out there.
Hey,
It's like
where
me.
do you think you're going?
Implying there's maybe a connection between the Fae and thing, but I think it's more to do with her being partly Hebe derived. You probably use part of Hebe's shard power to give her the body that she currently has and turn her from just a flower spirit into this sort of pseudo Fae that she is, I think. Or maybe just to speed up her existence or whatever.
No, it can't be.
Yes, because this does mean that Kieran's actually technically a human-bodied Fae. That wasn't obvious already. I mean, here we have Haruki and Shiori, who are locked inside K, so this would further make sense that this is another location for Link to Hebe. But sort of, she seemed to be. Notice the eyes are dull on all three of them, but particularly on Shiori and Haruki, and that they're talking like they're almost hive-minded.
Yeah, that's how it feels for sure.
Like a stream of thought from one entity channeled through three. Here you stand, tormentor and savior, jailer and prisoner. But they both functioned. I mean, and this scene is also a decisive moment for me that proves that even if Misaki is a sort of parent, kind of, to the creation of Kieran, which I'm more and more thinking isn't actually the case, that she, emotionally speaking, she is so close and bonded in that sense, spiritually, to Kieran, emotionally, that she is the decisive element that prevents Crow from just being able to take over Kieran. It's just a guess. Or that, and just Kieran's nature, because like I said, Kieran cares about other people. Misaki in particular, CJ in particular. And that's why Misaki is so essential. She doesn't need to be her spiritual parent in this regard. She just needs to be someone she cares about, which is what she is. Just what are you? And here we see Kay at her most angry.
Kay, it's me. I'm Kieran. You know who I am.
My sister's name, and she's right. When you really get down to it, Kieran's not really their sister. As brutal as it is to say it out loud. Functionally, she is. Like they know who Kieran is, and they've treated Kieran as their sister for a long time. But Misaki is their sister.
My family.
And Kieran sees herself as their sister, so that's what it amounts.
Something else, a third entity, or something.
Diary's just having fun. Then why do you have a voice when she doesn't? Oof. Fucking oof. It's true. We know that only Crow is voiced in this chapter. It was stated right at the beginning. The only one with a voice. Misaki doesn't have that voice, therefore she's not Crow. Therefore she is not. They're not the Misaki and Kieran are not the same entity.
We said goodbye. At the bottom of the stairs.
And this is another layer to the whole thing of trying to get Kieran to realize, to accept who and what she is.
I don't.
And then she's able to, right here, she's able to just peer past the veil real quick and
I was on
just
the
a little
and
glimpse.
you stay behind,
remember that Crow and her talked.
And made a deal of some kind of proposition. Which we don't actually know the details of, but I think we'll learn that in the next chapter.
Well, I mean...
Or maybe Kieran herself will remember fully the details. Which is...
Yeah, that is interesting, because we know that Kay sacrifices herself here, but it's not...
How did Kay get that deep? How
Yeah,
did she arrive there? That's what I suspect may be part of the proposition.
But But the thing is, though, is that why would it doesn't make it's really weird. We're missing something because it doesn't make any sense as to why Crow would want to make a deal with Kay here about that.
Yeah,
If Crow's
we don't know.
intention is
We
to
don't know
do the
what the
thing
deal is.
that Kay's
Yeah.
going to help prevent, like it doesn't make sense. We're
don't
missing
know.
something here.
Yeah, we are missing something. Something. Although, to be fair, Crow didn't know until they arrived at the graveyard and everything else what was there that was going to cause this problem. So the deal may have nothing
Yes.
directly to do with that.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. But Kay, it has to. You know what I assume? I assume it has to do with them two.
I wonder if the deal that she made was that if she dies, any remaining part of her power goes to her grandchildren to restore them.
Yeah, and she would have the ability to do that because they're connected to you.
Because they're connected to it. That would be my guess. That she knew that she sensed her death was coming, and so she was like, "Okay, my proposition to you is that you get my Hebe power or whatever, and then in exchange, you give the rest of my soul goes to my granddaughters to help them to repair the damage done." That is my guess for that.
It wasn't me.
Not all of me. See, she's getting closer. She gets closer and closer to admitting it out loud.
Real. You are my family. You show me kindness.
Even if she inherited that love from Misaki, doesn't make it any less real.
It's so hard.
It's very heartfelt. But can you imagine, like, doing all these awful things to someone, and then you are that one moment, and then the next moment you love them like your own flesh and blood, and then the conflict that puts into you, like that's just the guilt and the shame that would compound. Ugh. Like the trauma of that is just incredible. I believe you believe that, and yet she's going to kill us. And she is. Like, the world will be destroyed, and they'll be destroyed with it. Or at least humanity.
Exactly. I'm going to stop, even if that means I know I can't. I know I'm a monster.
See, she's so close, Kieran.
I don't want to be a monster anymore.
And ironically, I don't want to be a monster anymore. That's Crow's exact sentiment. Crow doesn't want to be a monster anymore either. Like, I feel like part of this self-sacrifice is at least like emotionally fueled on Crow's part with, I just, if he can't love me as I am, I don't want to live anymore.
What?
Our proposition will continue as agreed. Give me your hand.
Yeah, we're missing something here for sure. Because it's related to what...
That she doesn't want to be a monster anymore.
I guess it has to do something with the fact that Crow wants to change, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, the act of restoring Shiori and Haruki would be a big step towards that. Like, that would be an act of compassion.
Right, but Kay's the one that initiates that proposition, so...
Well, maybe that's how she... Maybe that's Kay... Yeah, maybe that's how Kay sells it to her. If you want to prove that you can change, here's a deal for you.
Yeah.
Maybe. We could be wrong. We probably are, but it's interesting
We
to
agree
speculate.
to.
Nothing you need to worry yourself about now. I've seen you commit genuine acts of mercy and compassion with no... Which is interesting because she can't see spirit chains. Kieran cannot see spirit chains, and yet so you can be compassionate and not see spirit chains. It just requires a specific flavor of it, I suppose.
I don't know. That's one of those things where I feel like we just got fed wrong information. Because it doesn't make sense. Kieran I don't know.
I think the thing is...
Maybe Kieran's changed...
I think it's later on it's mentioned in this sort of context that Kieran is blinded by her anger, which is maybe the problem. That she is capable of that kind of compassion, but her own rage at herself and stuff prevents it from working properly. That may be a possibility,
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah. Very possible.
Like, if you cannot show compassion towards yourself, how can you effectively show compassion to others without it being like a savior complex instead, right?
What?
It's self-destructive, which is what Kieran really is, very much. But this forgiveness, oh my god.
Stop.
Like, for someone like Kieran, who feels that all the abuse and bad things she's done, and
Please.
then getting forgiveness
I
from
don't
from
deserve it.
two of the people she most wronged is
Mhm.
just. This is so essential to her emotional growth. So key. Did you think I know what it feels like to seek redemption? Because it's easy to forget. Kay has done awful things. She nearly had children murdered, entire family lines wiped out.
Yeah.
She, knowingly or not, helped like fund like the murders of tens of thousands of people through Hayato's experiments. In a twisted sense, he says out loud, "I did it for you." All that blood is inadvertently forced upon her. All the blood on the hands that is for all those lies. It's like in a very twisted way. Like you can see how she would emotionally feel responsible for it, even if a reasonable person wouldn't say that it was her fault. But she says it as well later on that she was the one person who could stop him, like from doing it in the first place, and that's why he didn't tell her what he was really doing. But she says, "I'll take care of it." All right, and now we teleport to I think the projection after. But yeah, this is another flashback for Cameron.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to split it up?
If we want to stop, if you do want to split it up, we need to stop it here.
Okay.
If
we'll
you
stop it
don't, we
here.
go on.
We'll
Okay.
let this be part 2.
Yeah,
And then we'll do part 1.
No, this is
soon.
part 1, and then we'll do
Or,
part 2.
yeah, part 2 soon, I should say.
Yeah.
All
Because
right,
there's a
ladies and
lot,
gentlemen.
and there's still a lot more to do. And even when we get to the end, we're going to sit and talk for like half an hour at least. I put money on it to just lay out everything. There's so much to process.
We've got 3 hours of footage here. I'll edit some of it down, make it a little bit more compact. We'll get through it, and then part 2.
Yeah, I mean,
will
but
come
you
out.
can knock off like 20 minutes, half hour of that just from the break, and
Yeah, for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching part 1 of Chapter 51's Oot Cast.
No.
Myself and Techno have
Who
been
would have thought we'd
wandering
gotten here?
Right, we've been wandering and meandering through this, and there's just so much.
Might as well take our time with it, right? Like, time at this point, we cannot skip over stuff that we're going to regret not touching later.
Right, like, I'm like I said at the beginning, I'm sure we have missed so many things.
Yeah.
And
only if there was some sort of fact checker that could, call us out later.
For everything.
But
yeah,
anyways, we'll see you for part 2.
Yes, we'll be back in the nearest future, I'm sure, to finish this off. We'll see how it goes. Guys. Look after yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you again next time.
All right, see y'all.